841. The Immortal leaves his hand bones. At this critical moment, Shengtian erupted once more. A brilliant yellow light enveloped an area of tens of thousands of meters. The cultivators who were caught in the blast all had their states reverted to the time before they surrounded Shengtian. By the time they reacted, Shengtian and his son had already vanished without a trace. Enraged and frustrated, they continued their pursuit, only to discover that only Shengtian remained in flight. After resisting stubbornly for another half a day, he was finally captured by a lucky individual named Xie Shentao. Faced with the covetous gazes of other cultivators, Xie Shentao made a decisive and wise move. That was to hand Shengtian over to the Myriad Immortals Alliance in exchange for a bounty. In fact, during his escape, Shengtian had killed no fewer than 100 Alliance cultivators. Although it was in self-defense, he had still violated the laws of the Immortal Alliance. Shengtian was already a major criminal wanted by the Immortal Alliance. The authorities had not intervened directly before, but that did not mean they were not paying attention to the matter. Sure enough, after Xie Shentao publicly announced his choice, a team of black-clad cultivators arrived on the scene in short order, taking him and the barely breathing Shengtian away. The sensational nationwide manhunt came to an end. As for the other protagonist of the incident, Shengtian's father, Daozi, he had already been forgotten by everyone, except for Li Fan. Luoyang Province, in a dark jungle, Daozi hid himself beneath layers of piled-up dead leaves, heavily wounded. But thinking of how his son had exhausted his own abilities to protect him and draw the enemies away, his heart was cut like a knife, and he was in extreme pain. Myriad Immortals Alliance. Daozi's eyes were bloodshot, and the faces of those who participated in the pursuit flashed through his mind. His heart was filled with resentment. But at this moment, he did not dare to move, fearing that he would be discovered. Silently recuperating from his injuries. Alas! Just then, a sigh suddenly came. Daozi was startled and wanted to escape, but it was already too late. 3 familiar figures had appeared beside him at some point. It's you. Seeing Li Fan, the chief culprit, Daozi's eyes were about to burst. He was about to go berserk on the spot and die together with Li Fan. But he was suppressed by Lin Ling and Tian Yong working together. He was already weaker in strength, and now he was even more seriously injured, losing most of his combat power. Before long, he was completely subdued. Strange, why are you looking at me with that kind of look? I originally only wanted to ask you to help design a building, but you father and son ran away before we even met. You even used a scheme to plot against my life. If I hadn't been lucky, I'm afraid I would have died on the spot. I haven't even settled accounts with you yet. Besides, it was all the people from the Myriad Immortals Alliance who hunted down and captured your son. What does it have to do with me? Li Fan said with an innocent look. Outrageous. Seeing Li Fan spouting nonsense in broad daylight, Daozi was already extremely angry. On his forehead, blood vessels bulged and throbbed incessantly. He seemed ready to fight Li Fan to the death on the spot. Your thinking is wrong. Li Fan shook his head slightly. He took out a crystal-clear fruit, revealing a kind smile. Come on, open your mouth. If you eat this, you will understand. Daozi suddenly felt an ominous premonition in his heart. What is this thing? Li Fan did not answer. He gave the true temptation fruit to Lin Ling and forcibly fed it to Daozi. As the fruit entered his stomach, Daozi's struggle slowly weakened. The look in his eyes towards Li Fan also gradually changed. Don't you want to save your son? Although natal treasures usually cannot be transferred under normal circumstances, the Myriad Immortals Alliance has too many methods. Who knows what kind of suffering your son will have to endure? Li Fan whispered. Myriad Immortals Alliance. Daozi's eyes were instantly filled with blood. The Immortal Alliance is unprincipled, but its power is vast. If you want to destroy it and rescue your son, you need to take it slowly. Our Myriad Realms United Association was born for this. Under the effect of the true temptation fruit, Daozi's will was quickly rewritten. He joined the Myriad Realms United Association, with the goal of destroying the Myriad Immortals Alliance. He also began to regard Li Fan as his own, seeing him as a like-minded person. From Daozi's mouth, Li Fan also learned the secret of Shengtian's natal treasure. My son has 2 kinds of natal treasures. One that I knew about since he was a child is the Book of 10,000 Deaths, which can predict his own death. And the Kun Qian Bone Hand, which can reverse the universe, was awakened 2 years ago when Guishan Mountain collapsed. At that time, he had only just entered the chi refining stage, but he suddenly encountered a natural disaster like the collapse of the mountain range. His life was hanging by a thread. At the critical moment of life and death, his potential exploded. Only then did he activate the hidden ability of the Kun Qian Bone Hand. The collapse and reappearance of the mountain was too shocking. So this kid actually kept it a secret from me all along. Until not long ago, he hurriedly found me and advised me to leave. He said that he had foreseen an extremely terrifying group of people who were about to come to our door. Having already arrived in the spirit wood realm, Odaozi told Li Fan the whole story. Li Fan's expression was as usual, countless futures, countless possibilities. What he foresaw may not be true. If I really wanted to kill you, you would be powerless to resist with just these two people by my side. Odaozi's eyes were confused for a while, and then he sighed. A misunderstanding has actually led to me and my son being unable to see each other again. There will always be a chance. Fellow Taoist, what do you think of my spirit wood realm? Li Fan changed the subject, pointing to the small world that was under construction in full swing. Tisk tisk tisk, Odaozi observed for a while, shaking his head repeatedly, with a hint of disgust in his eyes. The place is a good place. It's just that the design and construction plan is really not up to par. It doesn't quite match the name of the Myriad Realms United Association. Li Fan was not annoyed at all when he heard this. Instead, he cupped his hands and said, "Then I will have to trouble fellow Taoist to work hard and transform it." Odaozi narrowed his eyes and nodded in agreement. He was already very fond of this way, and soon, Odaozi was immersed in his own plans and ideas. Fellow Taoist, just do it. If you need anything, you can tell the tree leader of this world directly. Having obtained Li Fan's approval again, Odaozi temporarily forgot the previous pain. He devoted himself wholeheartedly to the construction of the spirit wood realm. Although it took some twists and turns, fortunately, the initial goal has been achieved. Kun Qian Bone Hand, Book of 10,000 Deaths. Li Fan frowned slightly. According to Odaozi, Shengtian had not yet fully mastered the ability of the Kun Qian Bone Hand. During the escape, he seemed to feel that there was still a powerful ability hidden within it, waiting to be discovered. If he was given a little more time, perhaps he could really achieve some degree of time reversal. However, this was just Shengtian's guess. It was impossible to confirm the specifics. The key was that the Kun Qian Bone Hand was indeed the hand bone of a certain existence. 842. The Ancient Immortal Mystery. As everyone knows, the wonders of the Xuanwang realm are mostly the remains of fallen cultivators. This is what is meant by the wonders of man. As for the wonders of earth and heaven, they are essentially manifestations of the Xuanwang realm's natural laws. The Kun Qian Bone Hand on Shengtian's body, capable of reversing the universe, has truly transcended the realm of human wonders and approached the level of heavenly wonders. Yet, it still manifests in the form of a human hand bone. This cannot help but provoke deep thought. What did the previously encountered wonders of heaven look like? Derivation Jade, Sword, and Tao Pattern Compass, Yin-Yang Jade, Primal Chaos Chi, and so on. All are completely natural creations, without any human characteristics. Human remains, close to the wonders of heaven. Perhaps only the legendary immortals could achieve this. Li Fan couldn't help but think. Moreover, the shape of the hand bone that Taoist showed seems somewhat familiar. The transformation Tao stone flickered with blue light, bringing up a scene from his memory. It was the White Bone Vanguard realm, which he had used to deceive the people of the departing realm. The reason he chose it from the many available Vanguard realms was that Li Fan was deeply attracted to its unique and shocking scenery. Unlike other Vanguard realms, which were scenes of beautiful immortal landscapes, this one was built on a giant white bone left hand. The surroundings were filled with dark and desolate space, with the giant white bone hand floating in the endless void. It was full of strange, mysterious, and enigmatic atmosphere. According to the Violet Mist Immortal Venerable who sold this White Bone Vanguard realm, the concept of this scene originated from the Immortal, who created the entire fallen immortal realm with a single thought. Li Fan compared the two images. They were exactly the same. Li Fan was immediately shocked. This was definitely not a coincidence. Li Fan was now extremely interested in anything related to immortals. After pondering for a moment, his clone, Ji Shaoli, contacted the cultivator who called himself Violet Mist Immortal Venerable, under the pretext of renting the White Bone Vanguard realm. He did not use an anonymous alias but directly revealed Ji Shaoli's identity. Unlike his previous cold attitude, Violet Mist was very enthusiastic towards Ji Shaoli. Senior has heard of me? Ji Shaoli asked curiously. Hee, since I'm doing business, how can I not find out about potential customers in the various states of the Immortal Alliance in advance? Violet Mist replied with a smile. After all, there are not many cultivators who are willing to spend a lot of contribution points every year to rent a Vanguard realm. Ji Shaoli immediately understood. Originally, the millions of contribution points from winning the Fixed Fish Head Award were not enough to attract Violet Mist's attention. It must have been that recently, his clone had been frantically speculating and accumulating wealth in the market, relying on his foresight. That was how he entered the other party's sight. Ji Shaoli was not afraid. Instead, he showed a great interest in the White Bone Vanguard realm. He immediately proposed a long-term lease of 100 years, or even a permanent buyout. Violet Mist became even more attentive. He answered almost every question Ji Shaoli had about the White Bone Vanguard realm's origins and why it was almost identical to Shengtian's Kun Qian Bone Hand. True immortal remains? Ji Shaoli asked with interest. That's right. Before the Great Calamity, the Immortal Venerable had the honor of seeing a picture album recording True Immortal Remains. The scene recorded on it left a deep impression on the Immortal Venerable. Even after thousands of years, it is still unforgettable. Therefore, when creating this Vanguard realm, he imitated its form and essence, Violet Mist said eloquently. Ji Shaoli asked for more information about the true immortal remains. Before the Great Calamity descended, when the immortal path was not broken, the Xuanwang realm was actually still in communication with the immortal realm. Not only did the major immortal sects have immortal artifacts bestowed by the immortal realm to protect them, there was also a true immortal remains circulating in the world. No one knows who it fell into, but this is absolutely true, and there are many clues to prove it. This bone hand is one of the immortal remains. In addition, there are the immortal body, the immortal skull. Violet Mist was speaking so vividly, but the content of his words suddenly changed. Until before the Great Calamity descended, there were rumors of true immortal remains appearing in the world. However, after the Great Calamity descended, the true immortal remains and even the immortal artifacts of the various sects all disappeared. The chaos caused by this can be imagined, directly accelerating the process of the immortal sect's destruction. Ji Shaoli was stunned when he heard this. The remains and immortal artifacts have all disappeared. Violet Mist sighed. Yes. It is still a mystery to this day, and no one knows where they went. However, in the Xuanwang realm, the only thing that can be related to immortals now is probably the fallen immortal realm. Therefore, a considerable number of cultivators who know about this believe that the missing remains and immortal artifacts are likely hidden in this fallen immortal realm. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many cultivators who are still in the integration realm still tirelessly exploring the fallen immortal realm. Fallen immortal realm, Ji Shaoli nodded thoughtfully. Next, he couldn't get any useful information from Violet Mist. After some bargaining, Ji Shaoli directly bought the White Bone Vanguard realm for a price of 800,000 contribution points. Obviously, it had been a long time since he had encountered a big customer like Ji Shaoli, and Violet Mist's tone was very excited. He promised to provide free maintenance of the Vanguard realm for 100 years. And in the future, if there is a need to purchase a Vanguard realm, come to him again, and he can give a preferential discount. The handover and processing of the Vanguard realm are naturally skipped. The perspective returns to Li Fan's main body. The person behind this account should not be Immortal Venerable Violet Mist himself. Being able to open up space in the void is not weak, even among integration realm cultivators. He wouldn't be so snobbish. Li Fan also began to speculate on the connection between the true immortal remains and the Kun Qian Bone Hand. True immortal remains, drifting to the Xuanwang realm. The power of heaven and earth flows, wanting to devour and refine it, turning it into its own laws. Judging from the appearance of this Kun Qian Bone Hand, it should have succeeded in part. I just don't know where the rest of the true immortal remains have gone now. Could the derivation Jade and Dao pattern compass be related to the true immortal remains? Most importantly, whether it is an immortal artifact or a true immortal remains, they are treasures of unimaginable value, and the major immortal sects will definitely take good care of them. In this case, they can disappear without a trace. Interesting. Li Fan's eyes flickered as he pondered the possible reasons. However, these ancient secrets are destined to be impossible to deduce with Li Fan's transformation Dao stone, which is only of medium quality. Before long, Li Fan had to regretfully end his reverie. 843. Tianyang wants to unite with the Dao. The construction of the Myriad Worlds Union headquarters, under O'Dowsey's direction, was gradually moving onto the right track. And the feedback of cultivation from the Lee realm and the Kongyan Sea Mutual Aid Society had already allowed Li Fan's realm to successfully break through. For some reason, this time he didn't encounter the restraints of the calamity of heaven. He quickly returned to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. According to the current accelerating trend, he believed it wouldn't be long before he reached perfection. It's time to consider the matter of Tianyang's Tao integration. But, Li Fan took out a fruit of true temptation and pondered for a moment. In the end, he summoned Tianyang and had him eat the fruit. Tianyang didn't ask why, and without the slightest hesitation, he swallowed the crystal-clear fruit of true temptation in one gulp. Good, let's not delay, let's set off now. This time, senior brother has prepared a great gift for you. Only then did Li Fan feel relieved, looking at Tianyang with some satisfaction. Tianyang tilted his head, seemingly not quite understanding the meaning of Li Fan's words. Li Fan didn't mind, and still instructed Lin Ling to leave the Spirit Wood realm and head straight for their destination. This time, the target Li Fan had set his sights on was the essence of heaven and earth, Inkstone. Being able to share the same prefix as Inkkill, Inkstone's strength was beyond doubt. The current Inkstone had only recently been born, hidden beneath Keeling Prefecture, and was not yet known to the world. Li Fan was still benefiting from Mr. Bai's fortune, allowing him to know of Inkstone's existence at this point in time. If Inkkill's duty was to extinguish everything, then Inkstone's mission was to fill the void cavities left by destruction. Deep beneath Keeling Prefecture, some terrifying disaster had occurred. Massive, continuous patches of nothingness and cavities had appeared. Like the Earth's depths being constantly gnawed by termites, it was already riddled with holes. If there was no external intervention, it was feared that before long, Keeling Prefecture would be destroyed in an earth-shattering collapse. And Inkstone's birth was to prevent this disaster from happening. Its ability was to generate black, stone-like, hard substances to fill the void cavities. To repair the gnawed and destroyed space. But if Inkstone's abilities were limited to this, Li Fan wouldn't have taken a fancy to it. In addition to repair, Inkstone also had another absolutely powerful ability. That was shattering space. The so-called Inkstone did not refer to a stone, but a force that could affect and transform space. Since it could repair dense and numerous spatial cavities, it could naturally, in an instant, turn a perfectly good world into one riddled with holes. This was only a portion of the information synchronized from Mr. Bai's memories. He believed that after Tianyang truly refined and merged with Inkstone, he would awaken even more abilities. As for how Li Fan would deal with such a powerful essence of heaven and earth. Before the group traveled through the earth veins and quickly arrived beneath Keeling Prefecture, Li Fan had already conducted a simulated deduction in his mind. Although the stone of Tao transformation in his sea of consciousness was only of middle grade, Li Fan believed that as long as no more variables were involved, this hunt should be under his control throughout. When the three of them emerged from the earth veins torrent, they saw the shocking, endless cavities ahead. Intermittent, like the traces left by a twisting, burrowing worm destroying everything. Even the power of the earth veins is cut off here. Li Fan became vigilant. Not seeing Inkstone's figure for the time being, the three of them didn't advance rashly. Instead, they began to set up formations outside this cavity range. It was precisely the profound heaven sealing spirit formation that Hongxi used to control the enhanced red flame in his 115th life. Heavenly profound locking spirit, profound heaven sealing spirit. Two sides of the same coin, different paths leading to the same destination. Li Fan possessed the complete array diagrams of the heavenly profound locking spirit formation, even though he didn't understand the profound heaven sealing spirit formation before. But now that he had the end dissolution disk, this great weapon. With the principle that understanding one law leads to understanding all laws. He still deduced a formation that could achieve the same effect as profound heaven sealing spirit. Lacking the most crucial link, the heavenly profound mirror, the power would naturally be weakened. But the end dissolution disk was, after all, the supreme creation of two superimposed heavenly profound derivatives. And it specialized in formations. With its blessing, maintaining a formation that could weaken the power of the essence of heaven and earth should still be possible. It's impossible to completely deprive the essence of heaven and earth of its ability to act, like Hongxi did before, just by revealing the formation. But cutting off Inkstone's connection with heaven and earth, closing the door and beating the dog, and suppressing it, shouldn't be difficult. Li Fan set up the formation while quietly pondering. Lin Ling and Tianyang didn't understand formations at all, and the two of them could only stare blankly and watch from the side. Fortunately, Li Fan had set up formations continuously for decades, and had already engraved how to quickly set up formations into his instincts. More than a month later, a huge, mutated profound heaven-sealing spirit formation that covered the entire underground void cavity area was completed. After that, he had to set up a formation to seal off the upcoming battle fluctuations. And to seal off space, cutting off Inkstone's possibility of escaping if it saw the situation was not good. The Tao of space was not Li Fan's specialty. Fortunately, with the help of many precious resources obtained from the Five Old Men Association, he finally managed to barely complete it after half a month. Li Fan also asked Lin Ling to invite the Earth Vein Ancient Tree Senior to help, using the strong power of the Earth Veins to seal off this place again. When the real fight started later, he would deliberately make some noise to cover up any potentially leaked fluctuations. Faced with Lin Ling's request, the original Earth Vein Ancient Tree was a little hesitant. But after promising that he would bring some heaven drops and earth dews as compensation in the future, he reluctantly agreed. Seeing Lin Ling twice in a very short interval, and witnessing her rapid improvement in strength in a short period of time, the Earth Vein Ancient Tree was naturally a little curious about these heaven drops and earth dews. Having secured outside help, the next thing Li Fan had to do was to communicate with Lin Ling and Tianyang. In the Tao integration battle, he, with only golden core cultivation, would naturally not risk his life. Lin Ling and Tianyang would be the main fighters, and Li Fan would hide far away, commanding from behind. Given that these two people's brains weren't very bright, Li Fan explained in detail to them the various situations they might encounter in the upcoming battle. Then, through the formation, he temporarily connected the three people's thoughts together. And he gave them many pre-prepared treasures to prepare for emergencies. Thus, Li Fan quietly retreated. He clapped his hands and activated the formations layer by layer. If you are so well prepared, and you still can't beat a small inkstone, then you can't blame me even if you are counter-killed. With a strange wave, spreading towards the void cavity, the inkstone, who had been diligently repairing the cavities, finally noticed the anomaly. 844. Tianyang is facing life and death, resembling Mo Sha in appearance. However, it lacked that overwhelming murderous aura, instead possessing a deeper, more profound quality. Move, Li Fan shouted inwardly, while his hands didn't stop, fully activating the heterogeneous profound heaven-sealing spirit array. A profound power instantly enveloped the Mo Stone. Originally aware of Lin Ling and Tianyang's presence and preparing to launch an attack, Mo Stone's body suddenly stiffened. Then, its form wavered slightly, like water. In an instant, it was as if a layer of white cloth had been draped over it, and the color faded slightly. Just as Mo Stone was affected by the array, Lin Ling and Tianyang's attacks arrived. Although Tianyang was only at the transformation god cultivation stage, his combat instinct surpassed Lin Ling's. The red and black intertwined flames formed a giant fist, slamming into Mo Stone's body. Ripples spread out slightly. Lin Ling's myriad strands, like flying sword-like green silk threads, followed closely, seemingly wanting to pierce Mo Stone's heart with 1,000 arrows on the spot. Faced with the two's aggressive attacks, Mo Stone only glanced at them indifferently, without dodging or avoiding. Escape. The moment Mo Stone looked at Lin Ling and the two, Li Fan, who was sharing the perspective and watching from the outside, sensed something was wrong and reminded them. At the same time, he drove the array, releasing another suppression towards Mo Stone. Lin Ling and Tianyang both had extreme trust in Li Fan. The moment they received the reminder, they each fled. And just after they escaped, without warning, the space shattered, turning into the same void cave filled with black, destructive aura as the surrounding area. Dodge, Li Fan calmly commanded, unhurried. His premonition was correct. After enduring the combined attack of the two and launching a counterattack, Mo Stone's body squirmed and drilled into the adjacent void cave. The next moment, countless black tentacles stretched out from the countless holes in the continuous underground space here, frantically launching indiscriminate attacks on everything that might exist around. Like stirring up monstrous waves, the spirit sealing array that confined this space was also subjected to tremendous impact. Precariously. Fortunately, the ending disintegration disk analyzed the weak points in the array in time. Then Li Fan quickly took action to repair and reinforce it. Although it was fraught with danger, it remained firm and unbreakable. And Lin Ling and the two who were fighting with Mo Stone in the array were not so comfortable. Even with Li Fan's advance warning, this wide-ranging killing move almost left the two with nowhere to hide. They were just constantly shuttling, trying to reduce the frequency of being attacked as much as possible. Those black tentacles also had the power to shatter space. Even Tian Yang's solid puppet body disappeared instantly after being hit by them. In the blink of an eye, the surface of Tian Yang's body was already incomplete and dilapidated. While trying to dodge, Tian Yang took out a black, round stone. With a gentle pinch, the black stone turned into a liquid and dissolved into the holes in his body, repairing his injuries. And Lin Ling's side was not under so much pressure. After all, she was also at the Dao integration cultivation stage, and this body was not where her main body was located. It was just an energy incarnation. Even if she was hit by a black tentacle and a part of her was missing. With a flash of green light, Lin Ling quickly returned to her original state. And after repairing like this dozens of times, her aura did not fluctuate or weaken at all. Hold on, he has been isolated from the connection with heaven and earth by my array. Such a large-scale move will definitely not last long. Exhaust him to death, Li Fan said coldly. However, Mo Stone's endurance was somewhat beyond Li Fan's imagination. In the underground space, black energy raged and churned, destroying everything it could touch. The momentum was terrifying. If Li Fan hadn't arranged it in advance and added the double concealment of the earth vein ancient tree. Even if this place was deeply hidden underground, I am afraid that the monks of Keeling Prefecture would have noticed the anomaly. If Li Fan hadn't always been cautious and prepared enough supplies for Lin Ling and Tian Yang, I am afraid that they would not be able to hold on to this first level and would be directly defeated. As expected of the Mo generation, he is much stronger than Kai Yan. Li Fan couldn't help but be secretly shocked. However, in this stalemate, Li Fan, who was calmly watching, also saw some clues. It seemed that because Mo Stone had the duty of repairing the underground cave, he could not fully exert his strength. So after the tentacles lashed out, the surrounding normal space that was affected only oscillated for a moment before returning to normal. If he had no restrictions on attacking, he could definitely easily turn this place into an entire void. But this is contrary to his duty of being born. So even if his life is threatened, he cannot go all out. Li Fan thought thoughtfully. This can also illustrate Mo Sha's strength from another aspect. In addition to his own amazing strength, Mo Sha's duty is to destroy everything. So he acts recklessly. Just as Li Fan was pondering. Seeing that his attack was not effective for a long time, Mo Stone finally stopped. Without giving Lin Ling and the two a chance to breathe, he just changed his attack method in an instant. Those dark tentacles that stretched out from the void cave broke off and then formed individual, smaller Mo Stone individuals. As their figures flickered, they continued to approach Lin Ling and the others, forming a huge encirclement, constantly shrinking towards the center. Charge out, Li Fan quickly made a judgment. Lin Ling and Tian Yang exchanged glances, and then Lin Ling turned into a layer of green light, covering Tian Yang's body. The light burst out suddenly, launching an impact towards the rapidly approaching black outline. Black and green light collided. There was no earth-shattering explosion. There was only the rapid dimming of the green light, like a candle in the wind, as if it would be extinguished at any time. And the black encirclement, like a reef standing tall on the beach, only shook slightly. Indestructible, countless black stones devoured the remaining space for Lin Ling and the two to move. Seeing that they were slowly being forced into a desperate situation, Lin Ling, who had no combat experience at all, panicked first. Her momentum plummeted, and she was a little desperate for a while. Giving up resistance, waiting to die in place. Tian Yang, in my life. At this moment, Tian Yang, who had been silent since waking up in this world, finally spoke. Red light flickering constantly in his eyes, he looked at Mo Stone not far away, without the slightest fear. I am not weaker than anyone. In a somewhat strange roar, a huge amount of energy erupted from Tian Yang's body. The puppet body instantly swelled hundreds of times, carrying Lin Ling and rushing towards Mo Stone. Even if it was just a moth flying into a flame, hitting a stone with an egg. Even if the body was dissolved into the void the moment it touched Mo Stone's defense line. But Tian Yang still did not hesitate, launching a desperate death charge. And Lin Ling seemed to be infected by Tian Yang's belief, and an unprecedentedly powerful green vitality emerged, protecting Tian Yang's core, resisting Mo Stone's erosion. 845. Unite with the Dao and Mashizan. At this crucial moment, Li Fan pushed the Zantian sealing spirit formation of heterogeneity to its limit. Under the joint efforts of the three, Mo Shi's defense, like a wall of despair, finally showed a trace of loosening. Tianyong and Lin Ling finally broke out of the encirclement with great effort. Countless ink stones were eventually reintegrated. Scanning around, he didn't find Lin Ling and the other two, who were temporarily hiding and resting. He paused slightly before taking action again. After the full attacks of the previous two styles, Mo Shi's strength had been weakened to a considerable extent. However, this attack still exceeded the expectations of the three people present. Mo Shi's body slowly dissolved. Endless black liquid flowed from his body. Spreading around, the speed of the liquid flow became faster and faster, yet it seemed endless. Before long, it filled a large area of space around it. But there was no sign of slowing down. The black liquid, like a monstrous wave, roared and swept, vowing to fill the entire underground area. "We can't wait, let's fight him," Li Fan said in a deep voice to Tianyong and Lin Ling, who had recovered a little bit of their strength. It was still Tianyong, taking the lead in the attack. Turning into a ball of flowing fire, tit for tat, he rushed towards the black ocean ahead without hesitation. Li Fan could see that Tianyong was really risking his life. At the cost of burning the puppet's body, his strength was temporarily raised to the Hidao level. Success or death. When Lin Ling saw this, she gritted her teeth and rushed up as well. In the underground space, the phantom of a towering giant tree loomed. The shadow of the tree swayed slightly, stimulating countless leaves. Forming thousands of green lasers, the ink-colored ocean was split in an instant. More countless roots stretched out, some of which penetrated into the endless black water. The Black Sea churned, trying to devour the roots. But it failed temporarily. There was also a part that crossed the space and plunged into Tianyang's body. The red flowing fire transformed by Tianyong instantly became several times more vigorous. The raging scarlet color actually had the momentum to suppress the black liquid for a time. These two cooperate really well. Li Fan nodded secretly in his heart. He continued to improve the formation that was re-derived from the end disintegration disk. Mo Shi was severely weakened again. Tianyong became more and more courageous in battle. Gradually, in the underground space, the area occupied by the red flowing fire exceeded the black ocean for the first time. Li Fan knew that victory was only a matter of time. A full 7 days later, Mo Shi, who had nowhere to escape, was finally exhausted to death by Li Fan and the other two. The flames that occupied the entire underground space suddenly contracted, forming a blurred figure. Although it was a narrow victory, Tianyang's puppet body was also burned out in the battle. Originally, the day the flames burned out would be the time when Tianyong fell. But with the nourishment of the heaven and earth spirit, it was different. A constantly flowing black liquid was taken out by Tianyong. At this moment, not only Li Fan's heart was filled with greed. Even Lin Ling, who was already a Hidao cultivator, had a slight fluctuation in her eyes. Fortunately, Li Fan had the Immortal Heart mantra to protect him. And Lin Ling was born not long ago, relatively simple. Her main body was a spiritual tree, and her desires were not particularly strong. So neither of them did anything out of line, just watched Tianyong silently, absorbing the mass of ink-colored flowing liquid into his flame body. In an instant, it was as if it had been poured with ink. Tianyang's body changed from fiery red to a mixture of ink and red. And compared to before, the area occupied by ink color was even more. Only red threads remained, like tattoos, engraved on Tianyang's body. A powerful pressure suddenly appeared from Tianyang's body. Spreading around, Lin Ling couldn't help but step back a little. A new Hidao Immortal Venerable was born. The surrounding void caves trembled slightly. There was a tendency to spread in all directions. After adapting to his new body, Tianyong also withdrew his pressure. With a gentle wave of his hand, he re-suppressed the chaos of the countless void caves here. After doing all this, Tianyong looked at Li Fan. The ink color gradually faded, but did not completely disappear. It just became a little dark. Although it still looked a little awkward, at least it was much more pleasing to the eye. "Master, brother, I did it." The voice was still a bit strange. However, compared to before, it was obviously more humane. "Good, well done." After a series of twists and turns, Tianyong finally stepped into the Hidao realm. Li Fan, who had another Hidao thug, was very pleased. "You repair the void caves here roughly, just as a practice." Li Fan ordered while removing the sealing spirit formation. Tianyong nodded and did not hesitate. Using the magical powers inherited from Mo Shi, he repaired the riddled underground cave. The efficiency was obviously much faster than Mo Shi. When Li Fan erased all traces, and observed for a while, he called to stop. If the remaining void caves here erupt together, what kind of consequences will it cause? Li Fan asked after scanning around with his spiritual sense. His control over space abilities was no longer what it used to be. After Hidao, Tianyong, who had vaguely recovered to normal, said after thinking for a moment, if I explode these caves in sequence, it will cause the mountains and rivers of a state to vibrate continuously. But after the power is staggered and released in levels, the earth will not collapse instantly. It will only collectively collapse downward. If I control the strength more precisely, the people on the surface will at most feel a sudden shock. And the follow-up impact will only be that the vibration will continue for a period of time. If there are cultivators coming to rescue, the abnormality can be calmed down in just a few days. Tianyong carefully explained through voice transmission. At first, it was a bit intermittent. Later, he spoke more and more fluently. Almost no different from a normal person. Li Fan nodded in satisfaction upon hearing this. Then, after we leave, make a big commotion to attract the attention of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Be natural, don't be noticed, Li Fan instructed. Don't worry, senior brother, Tianyong nodded. After that, strands of black threads flew out from Tianyang's body. In an instant, the entire underground space was covered. The division of labor was different. Some were reducing the void caves. Some were making the holes bigger. However, after Tianyang's efforts, the original irregular and chaotic underground cave space. But it faintly showed some kind of regular arrangement. It took a full month to finally complete. Senior brother, we can go. Tianyang's talent is really extraordinary. In a short period of time, he has mastered Mo Shi's abilities so well. Li Fan praised secretly in his heart. This place was like a precise demolition. After Li Fan and the other two left, those void caves exploded one after another. 846. Get the secret and find another job. Although with the help of the Earth Vein power, the three had quickly left Keeling Prefecture. But they could still sense the huge roar and vibration coming from the Earth Vein's surge. It was as if a huge wave was crashing from behind. Even Lin Ling, who was protected by the power of the Earth Vein ancient tree, was forced to sway and deviate from her original direction. It is conceivable how terrifying the movement of Keeling Prefecture itself was. Not only the adjacent state, but even the distant Kongyan Sea area felt a slight tremor. On Haishuan Island, the Kongyan Sea Mutual Aid Association, which already had 18 monks, was originally enthusiastically discussing the future plans of the organization. At this moment, they all fell silent in an instant. The crowd looked at each other, surprised and uncertain. Just now, it shouldn't have been my illusion, right? He Zhenghao asked with some uncertainty. Fellow Taoist, he is indeed a talented person who knows the times. Although he missed the opportunity to join the association for the first time. But when he confirmed that Pei Tuo had successfully advanced to nascent soul, he immediately visited Ji Shaoli again. Even after being turned away for 7 days, he still did not give up. Instead, he persevered in sending messages, stating his strong desire to join the association. In the end, Ji Shaoli was moved by his sincerity. He Zhenghao also became one of the 11 monks in the second batch to join the Kongyan Sea Mutual Aid Association. Ji Shaoli stroked his beard and said nothing. Pei Tuo, who had the highest cultivation level among the crowd, looked towards Keeling Prefecture with a solemn expression. It's not an illusion. Even here, we can feel the earth shaking slightly. It seems that something is not small. Terrible. I wonder how many monks will die tragically in this disaster. Could it be that the war has started again? The crowd was talking. In the end, Ji Shaoli, who was always paying attention to the Immortal Alliance's movements, announced the official announcement as soon as possible. An earthquake occurred in Keeling Prefecture, and Hidao monks have rushed to the scene as soon as possible. The earthquake has gradually subsided, and there have been no monk casualties yet. After preliminary investigation, the possibility of subsequent disasters has been ruled out. No need to be nervous. After Ji Shaoli finished reading slowly, he looked at everyone in the room. Everyone, what do you think? Shang Xin snorted coldly. Such a big disaster, saying that no monks have died. Who believes it? A monk immediately echoed. That's right. In my opinion, the Immortal Alliance is deliberately whitewashing the truth again. It's really getting more and more excessive, they are too lazy to even make up a story. The reaction of the crowd was within Ji Shaoli's expectations. If it weren't for the fact that this group was the initiator of the Keeling Prefecture earthquake, he probably wouldn't believe the absurd idea that there would be no casualties in such a terrifying disaster. However, he did not stand up to correct them. Ji Shaoli smiled slightly and said, "Okay, let's end the discussion on this matter here. It's okay for our own people to talk about it, but it's best to keep it in your stomach when you're outside. Otherwise, it's easy to attract unnecessary trouble." None of the people present were hotheads. They nodded in agreement immediately. Ji Shaoli also brought the conversation back to the topic. It's not that the organization doesn't trust everyone. It's just that this matter is of great importance. If there is any leakage, I'm afraid all of you here will not be able to escape death. Therefore, you need to make an oath in front of the Saving the Suffering, Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal statue. Ji Shaoli placed a red contract, exuding a strange aura, in front of everyone. Pei Tuo did not hesitate at all. He was the first to make a poisonous oath and engrave his name on the contract. The others also followed suit. Ji Shaoli nodded in satisfaction and put away the red contract. Asked, "What do you all think of the Immortal Alliance exam soon?" Everyone was slightly stunned, not knowing what Ji Shaoli meant for a moment. Because everyone present was already employed within the Immortal Alliance system. Although this exam was large-scale and expanded by half the positions. But it had nothing to do with this group of people. Unless they now resign from their positions and reapply as civilians. It wasn't that such a thing had never happened before. Only those who are very dissatisfied with their current position, and have not seen any hope of promotion for a long time. And those monks who have great ambitions will do so. After all, the exam is not easy. Who can guarantee that they can successfully re-enter after resigning from their original position? Moreover, doing so would offend their original superiors. If they cannot successfully re-enter, they may have to consider fleeing to other places to take refuge. Without absolute confidence, almost no one would choose this approach like a warrior cutting off his wrist. Seeing that everyone in the room was silent, Ji Shaoli did not explain first. Instead, he distributed jade slips to everyone. After some investigation, everyone frowned. They could naturally see that the content in the jade slips was the format of the exam questions. Could it be, thinking of Ji Shaoli's mysterious behavior before, and the hidden and terrifying background of the Mutual Aid Association? A guess could not help but appear in everyone's mind. Is it possible? Soon, they all shook their heads secretly and rejected it themselves. The Immortal Alliance's employment exam questions are top secrets. Even though they secretly complain from time to time that the Immortal Alliance is corrupt. But for so many years, they have never heard of the exam questions being leaked. Although the Mutual Aid Association definitely has a large force behind it. But, the scene was silent for a moment. Ji Shaoli spoke to confirm the guess that they dared not even think about. If there are no accidents, the content of this exam should be in this jade slip. The words were very light. Falling into everyone's ears was like a thunderbolt. Many monks stood up on the spot, looking at Ji Shaoli with astonishment. "Fellow Taoist Ji, is this true? When have I ever lied to you?" Ji Shaoli said decisively. He was silent for a moment, giving everyone time to slowly accept the huge impact. Ji Shaoli looked at the different expressions on He Zhenghao and others, and said again, although, with the support of the organization, everyone's strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. But it is still a bit difficult to get promoted because of this. After all, those who are willing to join our Mutual Aid Association will not have a strong background. Moreover, the Kongyan Sea is a remote place. It cannot be compared with the prosperous states in the center of the Immortal Alliance. After Ji Shaoli explained the reasons for helping everyone, he asked, "The real exam questions are here. I wonder, which fellow Taoists are willing to give it a try?" As soon as these words came out, the scene suddenly fell into a deathly silence. From the expressions on everyone's faces, it could be seen that they were struggling in their hearts. It's just help provided to fellow Taoists. It's all up to you to decide, and we will never force it. Ji Shaoli added with a smile. 847. Ruamu observes the signs of death. Time seemed to stand still. The cultivators present were in a state of internal conflict. After a long while, He Zhenghao was the first to make a decision. He said in a deep voice, I am willing to try. Anyway, I'm just a small island garrison. There's nothing to regret giving it up. A long-lost brilliance appeared in He Junghao's eyes. Now, with the help of the Mutual Aid Society, I have obtained the nascent soul cultivation method in advance. Reaching the Golden Core realm is just around the corner, and the nascent soul realm is also within reach. If I can enter the central continent of the Immortal Alliance in the Golden Core realm, my future prospects will be very different from staying in the Kongyun Sea. Seeming to convince himself, and also to persuade everyone present to join him. He Junghao's tone was firm and full of encouragement. With a leader, 3 more cultivators made the same choice. But that was all. The vast majority of people did not have the courage and confidence to give up their current comfortable positions and challenge themselves again. After all, even with the leaked exam questions, the content in the jade slip given by Ji Xiaoli was simply too much. Whether they could remember it all was another matter. There is a big difference between rote memorization and truly mastering the material. Now that the exam is about to begin, the remaining time is too tight. It's not enough for them to prepare thoroughly. To put it bluntly, the probability of success is not high. However, out of 11 people, 4 were willing to take a gamble. This ratio was somewhat beyond Ji Xiaoli's expectations. He looked at He Junghao and the other 3 with a big smile, applauding and praising, rest assured, you will never regret your decision today. Before the exam comes, you can prepare on the island. I will provide you with some necessary help. The 4 were overjoyed. The others, seeing Ji Xiaoli's confident appearance, couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Ji Xiaoli, in turn, comforted everyone. After all, the Kongyun Sea still needs everyone's care. There's nothing wrong with deciding to stay here and develop. Only then were the others relieved. Tianling continent. Li Fan and his group of 3 had returned to the vicinity of the entrance to the 5 Elements Great Cave Heaven. The earthquake in Qiling continent attracted the attention of the Immortal Alliance. Along the way, they didn't alarm anyone. The process of transferring the entrance of the 5 Elements Great Cave Heaven was also carried out silently. After all, a Dao integration cultivator is already the peak of cultivation for cultivators who normally move around. With Lin Ling and Tianyong working together, plus Li Fan, who was proficient in formations, it was simply too easy to hide from the detection of the cultivators in Tianling continent. It's just transferring the entrance of the passage and moving it into the Spirit Wood realm. It's not really changing the location of the cave heaven. Strictly speaking, it's actually a bit dangerous. If it is discovered, the Spirit Wood realm will be exposed instead. However, as long as I truly devour the 5 Elements Great Cave Heaven, this hidden danger will naturally disappear. The space record data on the Tianling continent side has been recorded. Next, only one person needs to return to the Spirit Wood realm. In the Spirit Wood realm, complete the connection of the passage. Let Lin Ling take a trip, it won't take too long. However, Li Fan glanced at Lin Ling unintentionally. From the moment she stepped into Tianling continent, she seemed a little restless and absent-minded. Lin Ling, what happened? Why do I feel that your heart is very disturbed? Li Fan asked via voice transmission. Master. Lin Ling's tone was a little panicked. After hesitating for a moment, she explained everything in detail. Here, there seems to be a bad aura. Somewhat similar to the mother tree that Senior Ancient Earth Vein Tree told me to avoid as much as possible. Li Fan's pupils suddenly shrank upon hearing this. Ruomu. In an instant, this name appeared in his mind. In his 115th life, he also encountered Ruomu's incarnation in this Tianling continent. The Rotten Wood Taoist. Now that Lin Ling sensed Ruomu's aura here again, it was also a reasonable thing. However, what made Li Fan a little frightened was, since Lin Ling could sense Ruomu, then, could Ruomu sense Lin Ling's existence? A creepy chill suddenly rose from his heart. Li Fan immediately ordered Tianyong to accompany Lin Ling and leave Tianling continent quickly. After safely sending Lin Ling back, return again. Tianyong immediately obeyed the order. As the two left, the fear in Li Fan's heart gradually subsided. The sense of crisis that just emerged was not an illusion. Lin Ling should have indeed fallen into Ruomu's line of sight. However, I don't know if it's because Lin Ling is lucky, or for some other reason. He didn't choose to attack. After Tianyong reported that they were safe and had safely returned to the Spirit Wood realm, Li Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief. In his eyes, Ruomu's danger was even above that of Heavenly Doctor. After all, Ruomu and Mr. Bai, are the only two existences he has encountered so far that can prevent him from using even return. Being able to survive before was a fluke. If there is another time, the result is really hard to say. It's best to avoid this kind of old monster as much as possible. Li Fan thought to himself while waiting for Tian Yang to return. Without the help of Lin Ling's earth vein power, Tian Yang's solitary flight was much slower. It was also necessary to prevent being discovered by the cultivators along the way, which further slowed down the speed of flight. While Li Fan was waiting patiently, another flash of inspiration came to his mind. Ruomu hates cultivators extremely. From time to time, he will deceive and capture cultivators as tools for producing golden cores. However, his incarnation, the rotten wood Taoist, does not often appear in the world. At least in the 115th life, when Examen Yu received my guidance and went to find him, he did not find his trace. Ruomu appeared before because the Tianling continent war broke out. Countless cultivators died. This time he appeared, could it be related to too many cultivators dying again? Li Fan's eyes flickered. With Ruomu's cultivation, if he really wanted to abduct cultivators, he wouldn't need to personally incarnate and act, and even waste his breath. In Li Fan's view, Ruomu was actually enjoying the process. Watching the cultivators gradually lose themselves in his words. Finally, they are willingly hung on the branches, serving as tools for nurturing golden cores for generations to come. Ruomu's heart, filled with hatred, will surely feel immense pleasure. Perhaps it's like, when we humans encounter happy events, we will drink a little wine to celebrate. Li Fan secretly speculated. Now that Ruomu has reappeared, it may really mean that there will be a large number of cultivators dying again. Even if it hasn't actually happened yet. But he first sensed some clues. Just as Li Fan was thinking wildly, Tian Yang finally arrived late. It took some effort to finally change the entrance to the Five Elements Great Cave Heaven. Only after the remaining spatial fluctuations here dissipated did Li Fan leave. Before leaving, he did not forget to use secret techniques again to seal the abnormalities here. Start paying off debts tomorrow. 848. The miasma of immortals and mortals comes again. It must be said that Ruomu is indeed the most ancient tree between heaven and earth, the source of the fruit of longevity in ancient times. His premonitions are astonishingly accurate. While Li Fan and Tian Yang were still slowly returning to the spirit wood realm, a calamity destined to create boundless slaughter quietly erupted. Moreover, the bizarre nature of this calamity truly exceeded the imagination of the world's cultivators. Flag Ridge State. After some investigation confirmed that the effects of the earthquake had completely disappeared and would not recur. After a little appeasement, the rescue and investigation team dispatched by the Immortal Alliance headquarters considered their mission complete. They left Flag Ridge State and returned to the Immortal Alliance headquarters. This group, including the integration stage leader, had no idea about the imperceptible changes occurring in their bodies. After returning to the Myriad Immortal Alliance headquarters and giving a detailed report, they returned to their respective states. Until 7 days later. Cough cough. Strange. Cough cough. Why is it a little hard to breathe? Li Xinhai, a transformation stage cultivator in the investigation team, was in secluded cultivation in the heavenly mystery mirror. Suddenly, a burst of unease interrupted his cultivation. Not daring to be negligent, he scanned his body with his divine sense, trying to find the source of the anomaly. But he failed to detect anything unusual. Cough cough. The worry in his heart did not disappear. He wanted to suppress the cough, but the more he tried, the more uncontrollable it became. As if he was about to cough up his lungs, Li Xinhai looked at the pool of blood in his hand, his face filled with horror. Suddenly, a name almost forgotten by most cultivators flashed through his mind like lightning. Li Xinhai trembled, and an unspeakable fear descended upon his heart. Immortal, mortal, miasma. He shuddered and quickly contacted his teammates who had gone to Flag Ridge State to investigate. Unsurprisingly, without exception, they all experienced some discomfort in their bodies. Some were mild, some were severe. Even the integration stage leader, Immortal Green Willow, felt somewhat distracted and unable to calm down. It's over. All sorts of terrifying legends about the immortal mortal miasma instantly appeared in Li Xinhai's mind. His thoughts were initially blank. Finally, regaining his senses, Li Xinhai told his companions his guess. Because among them, his symptoms were the most severe. So the other cultivators were still somewhat skeptical. Especially Immortal Green Willow, who couldn't help but scold, how absurd. The immortal mortal miasma has been purified for thousands of years. Apart from the bodies of mortals, it can no longer be found in the world. How could we possibly? Cough cough. Immortal Green Willow's words were interrupted by a cough. After that, the communicating group fell into a deathly silence. Stay where you are, don't run around. I will go to headquarters myself. Cough cough. Immortal Green Willow no longer doubted, but his tone became extremely solemn. Thousands of years had passed, and everything about the immortal mortal miasma had long become a distant legend. How to detect it? What are the symptoms after being infected? How to remove and purify it? This information had long been sealed by history, and ordinary people could not access it. Even Immortal Green Willow, whose position was not low, knew nothing about it. But he knew the seriousness of the matter, contacted them first, and then hurried to the Immortal Alliance headquarters. After the teleportation light disappeared, dozens of black-clothed cultivators, like mechanical puppets, were on standby. After detailed testing, Li Xinhai's guess was finally confirmed. The group that went to Flag Ridge State was indeed infected with the immortal mortal miasma. Shock, doubt, horror. Faced with the crisis of life and death, the myriad Immortal Alliance reacted very quickly. An emergency team was immediately established, and the personnel of the Flag Ridge State investigation team were all concentrated and isolated. Then, puppet cultivators were sent to the depths of Flag Ridge State again to thoroughly investigate the source of the immortal mortal miasma. At the same time, a state of emergency was declared, and all teleportation arrays in the states were temporarily closed. The borders of the states were sealed off, prohibiting cultivators from entering and leaving. Various measures were taken simultaneously. It must be said that in this regard, the myriad Immortal Alliance is indeed worthy of its status as one of the two hegemons of the Xuanwang realm. Unfortunately, even though the myriad Immortal Alliance's response was very fast, it was still too late. From the return of the investigation team to the outbreak of symptoms, a full 7 days had passed. Now, the myriad Immortal Alliance's teleportation arrays have spread to every corner of its territory. Even though a large number of cultivators would try to avoid interstate teleportation due to the influence of the essence-devouring white mist. In the face of the huge base, there were still a large number of cultivators frequently traveling between the states. 7 days was enough to bring this inexplicably erupting immortal mortal miasma to every state of the myriad Immortal Alliance. The Immortal Alliance's sudden state of emergency made the cultivators panic. They thought it was a full-scale war, and the myriad Immortal Alliance was caught off guard, so they took this measure. For a time, everyone was in danger. But soon, the cultivators discovered that something even worse than they thought had happened. It was not a war, but the shadow of an ancient calamity, after thousands of years, shrouded the Xuanwang land again. The preliminary investigation results of the immortal mortal miasma in Flag Ridge State have come out. In the past, the immortal mortal miasma existed in every corner of the world. Finally, after the continuous efforts of the cultivators, the immortal mortal miasma was completely purified. This is what the cultivators thought. In fact, in a cave under Flag Ridge State, the immortal mortal miasma still persisted for thousands of years. Moreover, with the passage of time, it seems to have undergone some kind of mutation, becoming more secretive and powerful. The various coping methods recorded in history, although not completely ineffective, but the actual effect is greatly reduced. New disposal methods need to be researched. But before that, the mutated immortal mortal miasma has already revealed its hideous and terrifying fangs. Today's cultivators are mostly concentrated in the floating sky cities of the states. The population density of cultivators is even greater than that of the immortal cultivation sects back then. The immortal mortal miasma spreads, and the efficiency is also amazing. When the myriad Immortal Alliance's announcement on this matter was released, the sound of coughing had already spread everywhere. Initially, under the comfort of the Immortal Alliance's cultivation methods, the cultivators' emotions were still somewhat optimistic. But as some cultivators fell due to the immortal mortal miasma, panic was inevitable. The immortal mortal miasma is impartial. As long as they are infected, nascent soul and transformation stage cultivators will not have milder symptoms or a lower chance of falling than foundation establishment and golden core cultivators. The cultivators in despair tried various methods to delay the arrival of death. But it was of no use. They could only wither and die painfully in the Immortal Alliance's announcements. 849. Yin Yan determines life and death. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance was filled with whales. The same was true of the Kongyan Sea. Fortunately, on Haizan Island, the few members of the Mutual Aid Society who had stayed behind were in seclusion preparing for their examinations. Therefore, no outsiders had come and gone during this period. This was how they had narrowly escaped this calamity. However, as things stood now, they no longer had the heart to study. Avatar Ji Shaoli closed the teleportation array and activated the island's protective grand formation, completely sealing off contact with the outside world. He only used the heavenly mystery little mirror to constantly monitor the outside situation. Truly, it's all about timing and fate. Fortunately, I chose to enter seclusion here to prepare for the examination. Fellow Taoist Zhang Mu and fellow Taoist Sun Ying have already succumbed and fallen. The other brothers of the Mutual Aid Society are also showing severe symptoms. He Zheng Hao said with lingering fear. Zhang Mu and Sun Ying were both members of the Kongyan Mutual Aid Society. Of the 13 Mutual Aid Society cultivators outside, 2 had already fallen. This was enough to show the terrifying lethality of the mutated Immortal miasma. And the tragic state of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance under the rampage of the Immortal miasma. The other fellow Taoists are also in danger, their speech is slurred. Although they are all brothers of the Mutual Aid Society, it pains me to see them like that. But we absolutely cannot let them in, Ji Shaoli said in a deep voice at this time. This Immortal miasma is treacherous and dangerous, and we have not yet found a suitable way to deal with it. We are also powerless. Ji Shaoli paused, looked outside Haizan Island, and his expression was inexplicable. It is said that the Immortal miasma can also be transmitted through spiritual energy. I have completely blocked the spiritual energy channels between the island and the outside world. Fortunately, I have some spirit stones stored on the island, which should not be a problem in the short term. However, it is impossible for you to cultivate. You can only barely maintain your survival. Ji Shaoli turned back, looked at everyone, and his expression was serious. To have a place to stay is already a great fortune. We just need to hold on until the Immortal Alliance comes up with specific countermeasures, the cultivators all sighed. What exactly is this Immortal miasma? It is said to exist in the bodies of mortals, but it is invisible, odorless, and has no substance. How could it have deceived the Immortal Alliance and spread throughout the world in such a short time? After a moment of silence, He Zheng Hao asked again, full of incomprehension. A trace of worry flashed in the depths of his eyes. Everyone present, including Ji Shaoli, could not answer. They were silent and speechless. What exactly was the Immortal miasma? At this moment, Li Fan also wanted to know the answer to this question. Cough, cough, are you two okay? He squinted, looking at Tian Yang and Lin Ling on his left and right, both of whom were full of energy, and asked with some unwillingness. Senior brother, please say less. Rest well, Tian Yang advised with some concern. I'm fine, cough, cough. Before he could finish speaking, Li Fan burst into a violent cough. It seemed that his internal organs were about to shatter, and he vomited them all out. Although he looked like he was terminally ill, Li Fan felt no worry in his heart. Instead, he looked calm and carefully comprehended the changes taking place in his body. Seeing this, Tian Yang could not help but feel admiration. Shang Tianxi's symptoms seem to be a little lighter than mine, but he is still somewhat uncomfortable. His divine sense searched everywhere in his body, but he could not find any trace of the culprit, the Immortal miasma. Li Fan decisively gave up and began to think. No substance, but mortals, cultivators, and spiritual energy are all its carriers. After surviving for thousands of years, it can still mutate. Is this Immortal miasma truly a product that defies the principles of heaven and earth? A trace of doubt flashed in Li Fan's mind. After pondering for a moment, he took out the communication talisman he had left for Shangren Yin and contacted him. After a short while, Shangren Yin's voice sounded. Fellow Taoist Li Fan, are you looking for me because of the Immortal miasma? Cough, cough. Fellow Taoist Yin, are you actually okay? Li Fan looked at the other party's full of vigor appearance and could not help but feel a little surprised. Haha, I am not like you. Perhaps it is because I have been in contact with the Immortal miasma for many years, I only felt unwell for a day or two, and immediately became lively again. Shangren Yin said with a smile. Hearing this, Li Fan's eyes flickered. Fellow Taoist is truly lucky. I am not so fortunate, I am getting weaker and weaker, and I am afraid it will be difficult to escape this calamity. Fellow Taoist, don't scare yourself. Rest well, and you will recover, Shangren Yin said somewhat dismissively. You have been infected for so long, and you can still speak normally. This shows that the problem is not serious. The truly serious cases will be on the verge of death within 3 to 5 days, Shangren Yin explained with his professional knowledge. Then I will take fellow Taoist's good words, Li Fan nodded. After coughing for a while, Li Fan, who had recovered a little, asked again, fellow Taoist Yin, if we are talking about research on the immortal mortal miasma, I am afraid that few people in the world can surpass you. What exactly is this immortal mortal miasma? It has survived for thousands of years, and it is still so terrifying. Shangren Yin was silent for a moment before saying softly, the immortal mortal miasma is probably a product of cultivators defying the natural order. Although mortal, it can also kill immortals, ignoring strength and weakness. Li Fan was puzzled again. If so, what is going on with this mutated immortal mortal miasma? After defying the natural order, how can it change again? Shangren Yin shook his head. What has changed is only the external form. Where is the principle that has been defied? However, perhaps the ratio of the number of cultivators to the number of mortals is even greater than in ancient times. Therefore, the destructive manifestation of the immortal mortal miasma is far greater than before. Li Fan pondered the meaning of Shangren Yin's words. But a thought suddenly emerged in his mind. Fellow Taoist Yin, according to you, the birth of this immortal mortal miasma is to protect mortals and stifle cultivators. Since the immortal mortal miasma has reappeared today and has mutated, does that not mean that the Changsheng celestial venerable who defied this principle is still in the world? Why have we never heard of this celestial venerable's name? After a brief silence, Shangren Yin replied somewhat hesitantly, regarding this, I already have some ideas. However, it cannot be verified yet. But I am sure that if we can know the identity of this celestial venerable, then we will not be far from completely uncovering the secret of the immortal mortal miasma. Shangren Yin's voice was somewhat ethereal. Li Fan narrowed his eyes slightly. But he did not pursue the matter. After a moment, he turned to Shangren Yin and asked about his views on the specific direction of the immortal mortal miasma epidemic. Fellow Taoist, there is no need to worry. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance still has some experience in how to deal with the immortal mortal miasma. It is only now that they seem to be somewhat passive because they have not yet found a way to curb the mutated immortal mortal miasma. But it should be soon. As long as the method is appropriate, the ending of the immortal mortal miasma will definitely be the same as it was thousands of years ago, disappearing again. It will only exist in the bodies of mortals, as a kind of deterrent, Shangren Yin said in a faint voice. There seemed to be some special emotions hidden in his words. Li Fan was thoughtful. 850. A year is like a lifetime. Actually, I have a premonition. Even if we cultivators do nothing, this immortal mortal chi will never wipe out cultivators. At most, it will reduce the overall number of cultivators to a certain level. It can be said that the killing intent and mercy coexist. After a long silence, Superior Yin ended the communication with these words. Cough cough. After pondering, Li Fan inquired about the plight of mortals under the outbreak of this mutated immortal mortal chi. Perhaps it was because mortals in this world still carried the immortal mortal chi within them. This disaster, which was a terrifying calamity for cultivators, had a limited impact on mortals. Its lethality was even less than a common flu. Fortunately, these mortals can be considered citizens under the Immortal Alliance's rule. Otherwise, it's likely that the events of ancient times would repeat, with cultivators slaughtering mortals in desperation as they approached death. I wonder how the Immortal Alliance will handle this aftermath. Will this mutated immortal mortal chi be absorbed into the bodies of mortals again, impossible to dispel? And then there will be another great migration. Li Fan's thoughts surged. Although his body was suffering, it did not affect his mental agility in the slightest. It seems that for mortals, this immortal mortal chi is actually equivalent to a protective charm. However, if one insists on seeking immortality and embarking on the path of cultivation, then they are going against mortals and must abandon this protective charm. Immortals and mortals cannot coexist. In the current Xuanwang world, the conventional methods to remove the chi from the body remain the same too. The open black lens bracket body cleansing spirit pool close black lens bracket invented by Celestial Venerable of the Eastern Pole. And the Xuanwang heart cleansing mantra. These two methods are only applicable to removing the chi that mortals are born with. They are useless for cultivators who are infected later in life. Although they are both called immortal mortal chi, their manifested forms are different. Li Fan couldn't help but frown slightly. After a moment, he gave up thinking. Forget it, let's leave the professional matters to the professionals. With the re-emergence of the immortal mortal chi in this world, I believe it will also help Superior Yin's research. He should be able to discover the secrets of the immortal mortal chi earlier than scheduled. No hurry, just wait. Now that the state is locked down, cultivators are living in fear, and everything has come to a standstill. Li Fan might as well take this time to cultivate properly. Swallowing the 5 elements grand cave heaven and re-entering the nascent soul realm. Even without relying on the open double angle bracket sitting immortal art close double angle bracket to feedback cultivation, just relying on Li Fan's own cultivation, with his previous cultivation experience the speed is still much faster than when he started from scratch. With completely abundant resources, Li Fan's cultivation progress, although not 1,000 miles a day, is still steadily improving every day. He is not far from the completion of the Golden Core. Li Fan's scene of persevering in cultivation despite his illness touched Lin Ling, Tian Yang, and Shang Tianxi in the Spirit Wood realm. Then they felt ashamed. They reduced their daily leisure time and learned to be diligent. Time passed, and half a year after the outbreak of the mutated immortal mortal chi, things finally took a turn for the better. The Immortal Alliance invented a special effect pill. After cultivators take it, they can greatly reduce the symptoms of pain. Even those cultivators who have not yet been infected, if they take it in advance, although it will not completely immunize them from the effects of the immortal mortal chi, it can greatly reduce the probability of cultivators dying from the disease. It can be called a veritable magic medicine. Moreover, this time the Myriad Immortal Alliance acted unusually generously. Not only can all Immortal Alliance cultivators receive it for free. Even those rogue cultivators who are not part of the Immortal Alliance enjoy this treatment. For a time, cultivators were grateful and thanked the Immortal Alliance for its benevolence. Even many cultivators who previously had prejudices against the Myriad Immortal Alliance chose to join the Myriad Immortal Alliance on the spot after being cured. With the special effect pill, after the cultivators gradually recovered, the Immortal Alliance sent out cultivators to repurify the world and dispel the immortal mortal chi that filled the world. At this moment, Li Fan, who had already recovered, narrowed his eyes as he stared at the so-called special effect pill in his hand. He had swallowed one before. In addition to the slight symptoms of being infected by the immortal mortal chi again, it also produced a floating, immortal-like feeling, as if the soul was soaked in a hot spring. This is Heart Intent Ascension Pill. Li Fan's expression was a little strange. In his 115th life, he had taken this pill, which was banned by the Myriad Immortal Alliance. Although it was weakened a lot, the feeling of taking this special effect medicine was definitely not much different from the Heart Intent Ascension Pill. He was also the sect master of the Medicine King sect. Although Li Fan was not proficient in pharmacy, he could also see the effective method of this special effect pill. That is, to accelerate the process of the immortal mortal chi erupting in the cultivator's body, while using a strong excitatory effect to suppress the pain caused by the infection. No wonder the Immortal Alliance has regulations that each cultivator can only take one pill at most. If you eat too much, it's really hard to say how things will develop. Li Fan carefully screened his own thoughts, and then looked at the pill in his hand. He confirmed that there was no strong desire in his heart to swallow it again. Only one, it's not a big problem. Li Fan nodded slightly. It seems that the number of cultivator deaths may be a bit high. The Myriad Immortal Alliance is obviously using emergency methods, which have been taken out under duress. However, being able to stabilize the situation first can be considered a good remedy. Crushing the special effect pill in his hand, Li Fan closed his eyes, and his divine sense enveloped the 5 elements grand cave heaven below. After half a year of hard cultivation, he was infinitely close to the completion of the Golden Core. Only one step away, he could start the journey of devouring the cave heaven. Moreover, he had a premonition in his heart. This time, there will still be no calamity from the heavens. Just wait quietly. The 5 elements grand cave heaven is vast, it will take at least 2 or 3 years. The affairs of the Myriad Realms Union will be taken care of by Tianyang and Lin Ling. It will not fall into a standstill. Li Fan thought so, while perfectly mapping every scene of the 5 elements cave heaven that his divine sense swept over in his mind. 1 year after the outbreak of the mutated immortal mortal chi, the cultivators have become accustomed to its existence. After all, almost all cultivators have been infected once. Those who really couldn't survive have already returned to the heavens. The rest have sufficient immunity to it. Although there are occasional cases of cultivators being repeatedly infected, they are only a minority after all. It doesn't affect the overall situation. In addition, the second batch of special effect pills from the Myriad Immortal Alliance has been successfully developed and distributed to various cultivators. The haze of the immortal mortal chi has gradually dissipated. Kanyan Sea, Haizan Island. It's really like a lifetime. The island, which had been closed for a year, reopened. After taking 2 rounds of special effect medicine, the effects of immortal mortal chi had dissipated after only half a day. He Junghao and others breathed in the fresh aura, and couldn't help but sigh. 851. Those who survive welcome the opportunity. Originally, there were only 6 months of preparation time. Now, affected by the immortal mortal aura, the entry examination has been forcibly postponed. We don't know when it will be held, but I'm already eager to try. Cough, cough. He Zhenghao coughed lightly, his face full of confidence. A blessing in disguise, a blessing in disguise. The others also sighed repeatedly. Although you have taken 2 rounds of special medicine, you must not be careless about the immortal mortal aura. At this time, Ji Shaoli solemnly reminded. Recently, a rather sensational thing happened. In our Kanyan Sea, a cultivator named Wen Yu, relying on his infection with the immortal mortal aura and so-called immunity, wanted to test whether the immortal mortal aura existing in the mortal body would still have any effect on him. In front of many cultivators, he used mortal blood to irrigate his body. As a result, he died on the spot and turned into withered bones. The scene was truly terrible. Ji Shaoli sighed. He Zhenghao and others were stunned. Is there such a stupid person in the world? To joke with one's own life. Then they were surprised again. In that case, our immunity to the immortal mortal aura is just an illusion. Ji Shaoli nodded slightly. Regarding this matter, the Immortal Alliance has issued an announcement and made an explanation. The existence of the immortal mortal aura is a principle of heaven and earth. One can only adapt to its existence, but it will not disappear. So, in the end, nothing has changed. Just a lot of cultivators died for nothing. He Zhenghao couldn't help but feel lost. Pei Tuo even said angrily, damn it. If I have the day of Tao integration, I will definitely reverse this principle. Brother Pei has great ambitions. Everyone sighed with emotion. After a while, Ji Shaoli waved his hand to interrupt them. It's okay to complain. All we can do is endure and survive. In fact, the mutation and outbreak of this immortal mortal aura may not be a bad thing for us surviving cultivators. Ji Shaoli said in a low voice. Oh, what do you mean by this? Everyone couldn't help but focus their attention on Ji Shaoli. Do you know how many internal cultivators in Kanyan Sea alone have been reduced in this disaster? Ji Shaoli asked with a mysterious smile. Looking at the suddenly brightened eyes of everyone, Ji Shaoli transmitted a number. More than 500, everyone exclaimed. Yes, if Kanyan Sea is like this, one can imagine what the situation is like in the world. These positions vacated due to the fall of cultivators are opportunities for us survivors. Ji Shaoli's tone was faint. When the vast majority of cultivators are still immersed in the pain brought by the immortal mortal aura disaster, those with foresight have already begun to operate quietly in secret. These words made everyone present excited. Fellow Taoist Ji, in that case, should we still participate in the big exam? Yes, although we have made thorough preparations, the competition in this big exam will definitely be more intense. Everyone's expressions were different, and Ji Shaoli said in a deep voice, if there are no surprises, the scale of this big exam may be far beyond expectations. Not only the number of cultivators recruited, but also the quality of the positions. Those positions that used to require decades of training to be promoted to, this time, those with excellent results may be directly appointed. So my opinion is to go to the entry exam and fight for it. Maybe you can leap over the dragon gate and change your fate against the heavens. Everyone present, especially He Zhenghao, instantly had bright eyes. Also, in addition to internal positions, scarce resources such as cultivation techniques and blessed lands are also very likely to be opened up. In short, the Immortal Alliance's top priority is to restore to the level before the disaster at all costs. Ji Shaoli added. Fellow Taoist Ji means that the Immortal Alliance is afraid that the Five Old Men's Association will take advantage of the current weak recovery period to make trouble. Someone asked immediately. But it's strange to say. The Five Old Men's Association didn't add insult to injury when the Immortal Alliance was hit the hardest before. What's so incomprehensible about this? We had an outbreak of immortal mortal aura here, how could they be immune? In my opinion, the Five Old Men's Association must have also suffered heavy losses. Now it's a matter of who can recover faster, and who can gain the advantage in the game. In any case, this is indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us ordinary cultivators. Silently listening to everyone's discussion, Ji Shaoli did not explain. In fact, he had previously sent Lin Ling to have contact with the Five Old Men's Association, while making a fortune with the Immortal Alliance's entry exam question bank. He also secretly inquired about the situation of the Five Old Men's Association under this outbreak of Immortal Mortal Aura. Compared with the Myriad Immortals Alliance in the outbreak area, their losses were much smaller. Due to the certain lag in the spread of the Immortal Mortal Aura, when it was introduced into the territory of the Five Old Men's Association, they had already received the news of the outbreak of the Immortal Mortal Aura in the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Precautions were taken in advance. Moreover, the Five Old Men's Association is ruled by 5 Venerables. One order after another was issued, and the cultivators obediently stayed at home. To a large extent, the spread of the Immortal Mortal Aura was slowed down. Most importantly, regarding how to deal with the Immortal Mortal Aura. In fact, the Five Old Men's Association has more detailed records than the Myriad Immortals Alliance. After all, in the ancient cultivation world, it was the cultivation sects that faced the Immortal Mortal Aura head-on. The specific measures were not disclosed by the other party. However, it is true that the Five Old Men's Association did not suffer heavy losses in this disaster. The only thing that made the Five Old Men's Association a little puzzled was that the Celestial Venerable personally issued an order, denying the plan to take advantage of the chaos to attack the Myriad Immortals Alliance. The Celestial Venerable's orders cannot be violated. They can only accumulate strength and try to launch a fatal blow to the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Beast Seed Realm. Lin Ling and Tian Yang did not explode with their true strength. They just suppressed their combat power in the Transformation God realm and fought with the beast seeds that surged like a tide. This was naturally Li Fan's order. In addition to collecting beast cores to serve as raw materials for the Immortal Spirit Tower to convert spiritual energy. More importantly, let Lin Ling and Tian Yang temper their actual combat level in battle. Tian Yang is fine. In the previous battle with Mo Shi, Lin Ling, as a newborn tree spirit, had almost blank combat awareness and completely relied on instinct to make moves, which was really sorry for her Dao integration cultivation. So Li Fan asked Tian Yang to take her, taking advantage of the rare peaceful opportunity to exercise in this beast seed world. I don't know how many beast seeds have been slaughtered. Under the baptism of endless blood, Lin Ling's originally immature and innocent face has been stained with a bit of baleful aura. The moves are also becoming more and more flexible, and even pictures will naturally appear in her mind from time to time, teaching her how to fight more efficiently. The actual combat power is growing rapidly. They looked at the high tower in the distance. As long as they climb there, Li Fan's order will be completed. 852. Devote themselves to the Immortal Alliance. The exotic beasts of the beast realm gradually sensed that something was amiss. Although the two who had come only displayed the cultivation of transformation gods, they were like immovable rocks, standing firm against the endless tide of beasts. They even grew stronger with each battle. A series of desolate roars echoed throughout the entire beast realm. In the sky, the wind and clouds changed color. A huge vortex formed above the central black tower. Within the vortex, the image of a black Zon bird could be faintly seen. Tian Yang and Lin Ling's expressions turned serious for the first time. But that was all, just like the ending of the previous life's medicine King Sek's old Lu sweeping through this realm. Even if they used the remnant phantom of Little Black to summon the will of the beast realm to fight, they were still quickly suppressed by the joint efforts of the two Dao harmonization cultivators. According to Li Fan's instructions, after killing all the most powerful exotic beasts and taking out their beast cores, they demarcated a piece of land and concentrated the remaining beast species for captive breeding. Then the two began their next action. They also transferred the entrance to the beast realm's passage to the spirit wood realm. With the previous experience of transferring the entrance to the Five Elements Grotto Heaven, this time they were familiar with the task and quickly completed it. When designing the headquarters of the 10,000 Realms Union, Odaozi specifically demarcated a vacant area. It was used to house the entrances to various realms. At this time, it was still not large scale. Only when more small worlds were connected in the future could it live up to the name of 10,000 Realms Union. Of course, safety was also a matter that had to be considered. The more passages there were, the greater the possible flaws. Odaozi considered a spatial nesting scheme, planning to cut this area with entrances to various realms into relatively independent, nested spaces that could be abandoned at any time. If they really encountered misfortune, they could cut off their tails to survive. But it was still in the conceptual stage. Even if Tianyong devoured the ink stone, it would still take some time to skillfully master the ability to cut space at will. There was a sense of urgency. When the Beast Realm and the Spirit Wood Realm completed docking, Tianyong first came to the Leaving Realm according to the location that Li Fan had given him. At this time, the beast cores in the Immortal Spirit Tower, left by Li Fan, had been exhausted. Without the production of spiritual energy, the cultivation of the people in the Leaving Realm gradually fell into despair. The exploration of the Fire World was still in its initial stage. Su Yuqing had no choice but to ask Li Fan for help through a communication spirit talisman. Tianyong did not hide his aura. After he appeared, the pressure of a Dao harmonization cultivator made the entire Leaving Realm seem to be covered by a thick layer of dark clouds. The people who did not know why showed fearful expressions. Only Su Yuqing was pleasantly surprised. Facing the respectful Su Yuqing, Tianyong did not say much. He just silently helped the Immortal Spirit Tower restore its operation, and then connected the Leaving Realm and the Spirit Wood Realm together. When the Immortal Spirit energy dries up again in the future, you can go to the Beast Realm to hunt and supplement the required beast cores. The Beast Realm is not comparable to the Leaving Realm. You still need to improve your cultivation as much as possible. You can apply for the required strange objects and techniques from the Union headquarters. Tianyong said concisely. Su Yuqing nodded repeatedly. In fact, in the beginning, Li Fan had considered directly infusing the spiritual energy of the Spirit Wood Realm into the Leaving Realm. However, after careful consideration, he rejected it. After all, the vast majority of small worlds do not have spiritual energy. The Spirit Wood Realm can provide feedback to one realm, but what about 10 or 100? It is better for each realm to slowly transform through the Immortal Spirit Tower. Of course, this requires an almost astronomical supply of beast cores. Li Fan was prepared to go to the Empire with Tianyong after breaking through. The 10,000 Realms Union was thriving and developing steadily. Seizon Island. As Ji Shaoli predicted, with the release of the Immortal Alliance's latest announcement, an unprecedented entry examination was about to be held. Compared to previous years, the number of positions offered this time had more than doubled. Even the overall treatment of cultivators within the Immortal Alliance system had increased significantly. Countless cultivators enthusiastically signed up, hoping to change their fate against the heavens. But He Zhenghao, who had already made ample preparations and was full of confidence, seemed a little uneasy. Does fellow Taoist He have something on his mind? Ji Shaoli asked. He Zhenghao didn't know what he was thinking, and didn't seem to hear. He turned a deaf ear. Fellow Taoist He. Ji Shaoli frowned and called out again. He Zhenghao finally came back to his senses. Ah. It seems that fellow Taoist He, you are hiding something from us, Ji Shaoli smiled. He Zhenghao's abnormality started 2 days ago, after he returned to 10,000 Immortals Island. Because they shared a common secret, the cultivators of the Mutual Aid Society present realized what was happening at this moment. They all stared at He Zhenghao, their faces showing unkindness. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. He Zhenghao smiled wryly and quickly explained. It's not what everyone thinks. The reason why I've been so distracted recently. He hesitated for a moment, and finally took out a picture album with a look of helplessness. His old face flushed red. The culprit is this thing. Everyone looked at each other. Ji Shaoli remained calm on the surface, but his heart sank. He took the picture album, flipped through the first few pages, and then suddenly put it away. Where did you get this thing? Ji Shaoli asked in a deep voice. What was recorded in the picture album was exactly the wonderful and amorous affairs of one heart heavenly lord. Although it was not as realistic as the illusion that Li Fan had experienced. It also had a different kind of temptation, enough to affect the cultivator's mind. No wonder He Zhenghao had been so distraught these past few days. I got it from a fellow Taoist who was friends with me. He also acted mysteriously, saying it was something good. It cost me 500 contribution points. Although this picture book is indeed not bad. He Zhenghao muttered in a low voice. What exactly is it? He Zhenghao said this, and everyone present became even more curious. Ji Shaoli only showed the front part of the picture album to everyone. The cultivators originally mocked. Fellow Taoist He, you are also a foundation establishment cultivator, how can you be confused by this thing? But when He Zhenghao retorted and told the true identity of the picture book's owner, all the cultivators present were dumbfounded, and the way they looked at the picture album in Ji Shaoli's hand instantly changed. Ji Shaoli snorted coldly, and a word pulled them out of their reverie. All beings, one heart. If you indulge in it, you may be assimilated. Everyone's faces were pale. He Zhenghao was even more stunned on the spot, his body trembling slightly uncontrollably. Fortunately, you didn't fall too deep. Fellow Taoist He, you immediately go into seclusion and eliminate all distracting thoughts in your heart, Ji Shaoli ordered in a deep voice. The panicked He Zhenghao subconsciously obeyed Ji Shaoli's command. After locking He Zhenghao in the small dark room to face the wall, and comforting everyone, Ji Shaoli inquired about the circulation of Senior Sister Zhao's picture album in the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. 853. Senior Sister has thousands of bodies. The situation was worse than expected. It wasn't just the Kongyan Sea. Throughout the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, Zhao Shiji's illustrated books were circulating in secret. Cultivators all possessed their own pride. Naturally, they wouldn't go around publicizing their secret viewing of the illustrated books. But the content of these books was truly captivating. Anyone whose willpower wasn't exceptionally strong would, after viewing them, be filled with endless reveries and mental unease. Even if they sought release with other cultivators, their desires would remain unappeased. They would only want to see more illustrated books about Zhao Shiji. And at this time, even more explicit and realistic corresponding illustrated books would appear in the shadows, gradually enticing the cultivators, leading them step by step into the abyss. Most crucially, the timing was exceptionally well chosen. The attention of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, from top to bottom, was focused on the grand entrance examination. Completely unaware that, in the silent, unnoticed corners, something extremely dangerous was quietly spreading within the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. Already can't wait to start probing, huh? Already sense that I, Xuanfa, have left the Xuanwang realm. Ji Shaoli's expression was inscrutable. The methods of the longevity deities, even the weaker ones among the longevity realm, were a dimensional strike to ordinary cultivators. Extremely difficult to defend against. Even the Tao integration realm was within this, ordinary, scope. So Li Fan wasn't surprised that He Zhenghao had fallen victim. Even though he was constantly thinking about his wife and children, after viewing Zhao Shiji's erotic affairs, his soul was directly hooked. You should know that even though He Daoyu wasn't worthy in Li Fan's eyes, in reality, He Zhenghao was already one of the best cultivators. Without power or influence, relying solely on himself. Despite being suppressed, he could still become an island guardian. And he was quite accomplished in the art of formations, able to converse with many formation masters of the strategy formation hall. How many cultivators in the world were inferior to him? But when faced with Zhao Shiji's illustrated books, He Zhenghao was already like this. The performance of other cultivators could be imagined. This is 100 times more dangerous than any mind ascension pill. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance actually allowed it to spread, without the slightest awareness. Should I remind them? Ji Shaoli was somewhat hesitant. Even though he wanted to see the 10,000 Immortals Alliance suffer a crushing defeat, revealing their final trump card, he still had some apprehension in his heart about the methods of the One-Mind Heavenly Lord. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance should have its own set of countermeasures. No need for me to worry. After pondering for a moment, Ji Shaoli ultimately abandoned the idea of meddling. Choosing to sit on the sidelines, he only instructed the cultivators within the Mutual Aid Society to never, out of momentary curiosity, go and view any illustrated books. At the same time, he closely monitored the subtle changes in the dark. But soon, Ji Shaoli realized that he had underestimated the ability of the One-Mind Heavenly Lord. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. It wasn't that knowing the danger could completely sever the thoughts. Moreover, precisely because they knew in advance that the real identity of the illustrated book's protagonist was a top expert in the Xuanwang realm, the ruling Heavenly Lord of the Five Elders Association, they became even more curious about the content of the illustrated books. At the same time, they also had some luck in their hearts, as well as confidence in themselves. Just taking a look, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? Once this thought arose, it was difficult to make it disappear. Instead, it grew day by day with the passage of time, making people feel distracted. After the desire was not satisfied, it expanded without limit. When Ji Shaoli noticed something was wrong, 3 members of the Mutual Aid Society had already couldn't bear it. They secretly obtained the illustrated books and secretly watched them. While Ji Shaoli was shocked, he had no choice but to lock them all in the small dark room, supervising them to cleanse their minds. Truly, it's impossible to guard against. Listening to the sounds of resentment and curses coming from the darkness, as well as their mad behavior, Ji Shaoli's expression changed. This is just the initial stage, and I immediately cut off the influence and those cultivators who were deeply involved. Ji Shaoli felt a faint chill in his heart. Although Zhao Shiji might be a little weak in actual combat, her influence on cultivators is truly no less than any heavenly lord. In order to prevent more people from falling into the mutual aid society, Ji Shaoli simply summoned them all back. He closed off Haizan Island again. Anyway, there's still some time before the entrance examination. I don't believe the 10,000 Immortals Alliance is completely unaware of this. Let's see how they respond. Just like Ji Shaoli thought. When more and more cultivators were affected by Zhao Shiji's illustrated books, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance finally noticed some clues. The measures taken by the 10,000 Immortals Alliance also taught Ji Shaoli a lesson. They didn't blatantly ban the circulation of the illustrated books. The official even didn't actively mention the existence of the illustrated books at all. But almost in one day, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance suddenly had thousands of different secret books circulating, all of which had been previously banned and prohibited from circulation and trade, including the Xuanfa Heavenly Lord seizing the Supreme Primordial True Scripture picture that Li Fan had seen before, as well as the forgetful biography of the demon infant who devoured his father and mother. The scholar casually diverts the flow picture. There were written books and pictorial records. The content was strange and mysterious, all different, even contradicting each other. But they all had one thing in common. They were all about the 5 longevity deities of the 5 Elders Association. You should know that previously, the cultivators of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance only knew that there were these 5 longevity deities in the 5 Elders Association. Everything else was unknown. Now, so many secrets suddenly emerged. Naturally, it attracted their attention. Soon, the content of these secret books became the most popular topic in the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. No matter where you went, you could see cultivators talking about it. Even those who basically didn't care about the world, in this atmosphere of universal discussion, specially paid attention to it. Ji Shaoli also found that it was under these circumstances that the attractiveness of Zhao Shiji's illustrated books was unknowingly reduced. Among the secret books released by the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, there were naturally many about the one-mind Heavenly Lord. They didn't deliberately weaken the erotic parts, but while describing the deeds of the strong man who rose from humble beginnings and revitalized the sect, they also mixed in many blood-boiling contents. But beautiful is beautiful, compared with the content of the illustrated books spread by the 5 Elders Association. It lacked that fatal temptation. After reading it, one would no longer be listless and lose their appetite. After being excited for a while, they would naturally forget. Ji Shaoli was thoughtful. When the veil of mystery is gone, the attractiveness is reduced by levels. After reading it again, it feels dull. Although they don't know that the illustrated books about Zhao Shiji spread by the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the 5 Elders Association are two completely different things. Of course, this atmosphere of national discussion is also an obstacle. 854. The Immortal Chosen One saves the world. A person's energy is limited. When attention is focused on one thing, it inevitably reduces attention to other things. Moreover, the genuine, high-quality albums imbued with Senior Sister Zhao's power have been buried under countless crudely made imitations by the myriad Immortals Alliance. Therefore, the spread and impact of One Mind Heavenly Venerate have been limited to the greatest extent. A brilliant move. I've learned something. Ji Shaoli, with his insightful eyes, saw through the various operations of the myriad Immortals Alliance and couldn't help but sigh in admiration. After a short while, he frowned slightly again. However, doing so can only mitigate the harm. It cannot completely end Senior Sister Zhao's influence. The myriad Immortals Alliance must have a backup plan. As Ji Shaoli predicted, while the vast majority of the Immortal Alliance cultivators were immersed in this deliberately created discussion storm, there was still a small group of people who were not satisfied with those imitations at all. They were still tirelessly pursuing more exciting albums. But they did not know that all the albums circulating in the market had already been secretly and closely monitored by the myriad Immortals Alliance. It was just that they had not yet closed the net. When they finally found a seller who was willing to trade after a lot of hard work, They were all caught in one fell swoop the moment the transaction was completed. They were arrested for attempting to subvert the Immortal Alliance. All this seemed so silent and unnoticeable in the face of the lively discussion trend. If Ji Shaoli had not paid attention to these cultivators before, he probably would not have noticed that they had disappeared from the world, confusing the public while engaging in entrapment. Using both methods simultaneously, it took a full 3 months for the Myriad Immortals Alliance to finally resolve the impact of Senior Sister Zhao's initial probing. Although the Myriad Immortals Alliance seems to have won this confrontation, it has actually lost. Ji Shaoli shook his head secretly. What did the Five Elders Association pay for this disturbance? Just some mass-produced picture books. But the Myriad Immortals Alliance had to spend a lot of time and energy to quell this matter. This time it was suppressed. But the Five Elders Association can make a comeback at any time, without needing too much cost. The Myriad Immortals Alliance needs to be vigilant at all times. This is the crushing power of the Heavenly Venerate. The Myriad Immortals Alliance is showing its decline. But I still hope that it can bring me some surprises next. There are no eternally popular topics in the world. As time passed, the cultivators' attention to those released secret books gradually decreased. What replaced it was the Immortal Alliance's entry examination, which was finally about to begin. The reason why this exam received so much attention was not only because of its unprecedented scale, but also because of an explosive news recently released by the Myriad Immortals Alliance. In order to deal with the menacing Five Elders Association, the Immortal Alliance will select 33 Immortal chosen through this exam. Entrusted with the hope of resisting the Five Elders Association, once they become Immortal chosen, they will receive the Myriad Immortals Alliance's cultivation at any cost. Everything needed for advancement, pills, cultivation methods, blessed lands, transformations, and even the power of heaven and earth. The Myriad Immortals Alliance will provide them all for free. No matter what their original cultivation level was, they would definitely be able to achieve the Tao integration realm within 10 years. This selection of Immortal Chosen does not focus on family background or even cultivation talent. The only thing that is valued is the individual ability of the cultivator. Whether they can play a unique role in the upcoming confrontation with the Five Elders Association. When the news came out, the cultivators of the Myriad Immortals Alliance immediately went crazy. Most cultivators are somewhat conceited. Even if their cultivation realm is temporarily stagnant, they will not blame themselves. They only attribute the reason to external factors such as cultivation methods and resources. If I were in the Tao integration realm, wouldn't I be much stronger than those who have risen up relying on the protection of their families? And wouldn't have been defeated repeatedly under the attack of the Five Elders Association? I don't know how many cultivators had this kind of thought in their minds the moment they heard this announcement. So, on the spur of the moment, they flocked to the registration office for the exam, regardless of everything. Even Ji Shaoli was a little tempted for a moment. But it was only a momentary impulse. Everything has a price. The price of being forcibly promoted and quickly becoming a Tao integration cultivator may be unbearable for him. The clone involves the secrets of the main body and will definitely not take risks. However, then again, even if he wanted to, he might not be selected. How many cultivators are under the rule of the Myriad Immortals Alliance? Only 33 are selected from them. Even if there may be some who do not conform to the traditional meaning of geniuses. But I believe that everyone has their own unique advantages. Some unlucky people are not weaker than others. In fact, they only lack an opportunity. Once they take advantage of the situation, they can laugh proudly for 9 days. Ji Shaoli has no doubt that some previously unknown people will emerge from these 33 people. In this selection, they will shine brightly and shock Xuanwang. But he still has some doubts in his heart. Entrusting the hope of resisting the Five Elders Association to these Immortal Chosen. Doesn't that mean that the current rulers are incompetent? Why would the Myriad Immortals Alliance do such a self-defeating thing? Not to mention those mysterious law-transmitting people. Even the heavenly pride divine souls selected from the era have not yet entered the arena. The Myriad Immortals Alliance should not be so incompetent to this point. Unless, these 33 Tao integrations, the so-called Stars of Hope, are just a cover. They have ulterior motives. Ji Shaoli's eyes flickered. Under the spotlight, the Immortal Alliance exam officially began. The scale is far greater than before. It will last for a full month. All the cultivators participating in the exam will go to the examination room through the Tianquan mirrors in various states. Before the exam is over, the examination room is completely closed and isolated from the outside world. Because there are too many cultivators participating in this exam, it directly caused the various states of the entire Myriad Immortals Alliance to become somewhat deserted. During this month, the interior of the Myriad Immortals Alliance is empty. In order to prevent the Five Elders Association from attacking, the Immortal Alliance not only deployed heavy troops on the border to defend it strictly. At the same time, it also launched a counterattack silently. In the Spirit Wood world, Li Fan, who temporarily interrupted the process of devouring the Five Elements' Great Cave Heaven, looked at a diamond-like sparkling sphere handed over by Lin Ling, with a solemn expression. This thing was sent by the Five Elders Association. As a partner, who has successfully traded several times, this time the Five Elders Association actually took the initiative to come to him for help. It really surprised Li Fan. It is said that this shining sphere has caused a lot of trouble to the Five Elders Association. And they have not found a way to crack it yet. So, helplessly, with the idea of giving it a try, they wanted to see if the Myriad Worlds United Association had any information about this thing. 855. Everyone is destined to be the Son of God. Li Fan held the radiant sphere, separating a wisp of his divine sense to delve within. In the next instant, his vision underwent a drastic change. The connection with his main body was severed. This separated wisp of divine sense was cast into another body. Simultaneously, countless streams of information flooded in. The body he possessed was merely that of a mortal. It took him several days, amidst throbbing headaches, to absorb all the information. A peculiar expression appeared on Li Fan's face. Within this radiant sphere was, unexpectedly, a fabricated space-time. It was set during the final years of a dynasty, with corrupt officials and the people living in misery. Moreover, disasters arose one after another, with famine and corpses scattered everywhere. The common people only sought to fill their bellies, yet this was but a pipe dream. Thus, in their despair, they rose up in revolt. Currently, smoke signals of rebellion were rising everywhere, and Li Fan's possessed body was within one of these insurgent armies, an insignificant figure. Due to the digestion of knowledge, his absent-mindedness was mistaken for a strange illness. He was sent to the military doctor for treatment. This military doctor also had some skill, and after only a glance, prescribed a prescription for calming the nerves. Li Fan came back to his senses, and was just about to leave when a prompt suddenly appeared before his eyes. Discovered a talent to assist the ruler, by Moxiu. Current favorability. 1. Li Fan's expression couldn't help but turn strange. What on earth is the Myriad Immortal Alliance doing? He didn't overly engage with this military doctor by Moxiu for the time being. Instead, Li Fan wandered around this rebel army camp. In just 3 or 4 days, he discovered 1. Peerless general, and 2. Ancient divine weapons. As for other moldable talents, they were too numerous to count. Some only had rough favorability prompts, but others even had walkthrough reminders. Their hobbies, temperaments, and weaknesses were all known clearly. Li Fan became interested. Following the prompts that appeared, he contacted them one by one, catering to their preferences. Soon, he went from being unknown in the rebel army to having some fame. More than 10 days later, he even received a reminder that the government troops would launch a night raid. However, he didn't warn anyone, but secretly prepared with a group of confidants. The rebel army, under the cover of the night raid, instantly collapsed. Li Fan, however, led a group of people, barely escaping with their lives. As the leader who led everyone to survive, Li Fan gradually established prestige. Then, according to the prompts that appeared again, relying on only 100 people, he launched a long-distance raid and occupied a small, internally empty city because the army had gone out to suppress bandits. He had his own place to stay. Starting from this, he slowly annexed the surrounding forces. In just 5 years, he swept across the universe, overthrew the corrupt dynasty rule, and became a founding emperor of a new era. The scene before him shattered layer by layer. Everything returned to nothingness. Just as Li Fan was pondering the purpose of this illusory scene, the scene before him changed again. Another illusory space-time. This time, it was a fictional world of cultivation. The body he possessed was a mortal youth who had been rejected by the Tai Chu sect because he had no spiritual root. The youth pleaded bitterly, and only then did he obtain the status of a miscellaneous disciple. Originally, he thought he could only live a difficult life. But he never expected that once, he accidentally picked up a stone bead in the back mountain. This stone bead had the heaven-defying effect of devouring other things, feeding back spiritual liquid, and improving aptitude. It was by relying on this treasure that Li Fan officially transformed from a mortal into a cultivator. Then, step by step, he became Foundation Establishment, Golden Core, Nascent Soul. In this process, he not only obtained 3 Tao partners with peerless appearances, and ancient divine beasts as mounts, but he also had continuous adventures, discovered the remains of immortals, and obtained immortal artifacts that were absolutely unique in the cultivation world. After wandering in the cultivation world for 100 years, he finally became the strongest person in the world. He took his beauties and broke through the air. The picture shattered again. This time when he returned from the illusion, Li Fan faintly felt that some changes had occurred in his mentality. But before he could analyze it, he fell into the cycle of illusion again. Next, Li Fan experienced 97 reincarnations again. The encounters were also similar. Roughly speaking, it was the old story of being born from humble beginnings, then accidentally obtaining adventures. Then all the way to counterattack, to achieve the world's strongest. When all the reincarnations were over, the radiant orb in Li Fan's hand completely dimmed. Disappeared. The reincarnation experience of the 99 lifetimes, although it was an illusion. But it was too real. It was extremely similar to what he had experienced with senior sister Zhao, extremely illusory and true. After so many reincarnations, even with Li Fan's current state of mind, he couldn't help but be affected a bit. He slowly circulated the Zanhuang Immortal Heart mantra to gradually dilute these experiences. The myriad immortal alliances trick is really interesting. Li Fan looked strange. This radiant orb, not long ago, suddenly fell like torrential rain in some territories of the Five Elders Association. Countless cultivators and mortals within were attracted by this orb out of curiosity. They fell into the cycle of 99 lifetimes. When they slowly woke up, although their bodies were not affected in any way, but their mentality had undergone earth-shaking changes. That is, affected by the illusion, those who were originally just mediocre people. After waking up, they all inexplicably thought that they were chosen ones. If it was just a one-sided belief, it wouldn't be a big deal. But they all realized that they lived in a world that had been forcibly transformed by the 5 celestial venerables against the laws of heaven and earth. So they all made great vows to overthrow the rule of the 5 Elders Association, to rescue the cultivators in the world from their miserable lives. Moreover, after the baptism of 99 reincarnations, these people have indeed become a little different. Not only did they not choose to come hard, but they would lurk. First cultivate, then sabotage. Although it was not specifically stated, but from the 5 Elders Association's tone, the impact caused by this radiant white ball, it really gave them a headache. Li Fan thoughtfully said, in addition to making the monks vaguely awaken, there is also some kind of spiritual imprint. How can the so-called Son of Destiny be inferior to others? It can actually implant the idea of overthrowing the rule of the 5 Elders Association under the influence of the 5 Celestial Venerables. Good stuff. Li Fan was naturally not affected by this radiant orb. In fact, even if he was affected, it's not a big problem. After all, unlike others, with still true in hand, he can be considered a true Son of Destiny. Li Fan looked at the storage ring sent by the 5 Elders Association, which was densely packed, estimated to be no less than 1,000 radiant orbs. He touched his chin. The cost of this thing does not seem to be high. Otherwise, it would not be scattered on such a large scale. He took out another one and studied it. In his sea of consciousness, the dissociation disk emitted a faint light, cracking it. There are traces of an illusion array. But more of. Li Fan frowned slightly. He felt a familiar taste. Heart monkey, intent horse. After a while, he found similar parts from his past experiences. 856. The source of external power. The mind ape and will horse are existences utterly different from the rules of the Xuanwang world. They are suspected to be the remnants of the heavenly Tao's power from the Xuanwang world's devouring and fusion of other smaller worlds. No wonder they can still exert their influence within the reversal of reason range of the evergreen celestial venerable. The power of the anomalous. Li Fan remembered that in his 114th life, during the fight against the Zon Net, the overturning heaven society created a great weapon called open black lens bracket heaven felling arrow close black lens bracket. The specifics of its manufacture were unknown, but the source of materials was precisely the increasingly frequent anomalies at that time. The Zon net replaced heaven, its power no different from the heavenly Tao of the Xuanwang world today. Since the heaven-felling arrow could damage the Zon net, it meant it could also harm the Xuanwang heavenly Tao. Now it seems that although the power of the anomalous is different from the laws of the Xuanwang world, it is ultimately a power that can be mastered and used. Not a illogical, unreasonable existence. Li Fan carefully examined the dazzling sphere in his hand. But, unexpectedly, the Myriad Immortals Alliance's research on anomalies has actually reached this point. It really is that if you don't push them, you don't know how many tricks they have hidden. But this is also to be expected. Li Fan suddenly thought of the giant map he had seen when he met Gongsun Shishuan in the Heavenly Mystery Hall of the Kongyun Sea. The map seemed to mark the locations where anomalous events occurred within the Kongyun Sea. The Myriad Immortals Alliance has always had strict surveillance of anomalies. It's normal that they can initially utilize them this time. The Mind Ape and Will Horse are terrifying anomalies related to mental power, capable of directly transforming cultivators into alien beings. After being transformed into a Mind Ape, one's divine sense can be enhanced. And transforming into a Will Horse can directly nourish the soul. When I took the open black lens bracket Will Horse close black lens bracket back then, I experienced that extremely illusory yet real power. If you feel like you've died in the illusion, then you really will perish in reality. Consciousness can change matter. Judging from the fact that this dazzling sphere is being mass-produced and released so cheaply, the Myriad Immortals Alliance should have completely mastered the application of this extra-realm rule. After thinking for a long time, Li Fan couldn't find any way to crack it. He could hardly say he was proficient in the laws of the Xuanwang world, let alone this extra-realm power. Li Fan could actually understand the headache of the Five Elders Association at this moment. There was a saying by a sage, therefore, the sage's governance empties their minds, fills their bellies, weakens their ambitions, strengthens their bones, and always keeps the people ignorant and without desire. Now, the cultivators affected by the dazzling sphere all call themselves children of destiny. Their potential for destructiveness is simply incomparable to ordinary cultivators. Before the transmigration, Li Fan had read many online novels. In most of the books, the protagonists were transmigrators. Why? Besides being able to increase the reader's sense of immersion, it also gives the reader expectations. The fate of transmigrators is generally different from that of the so-called natives. Because they have seen another world and recognize their own uniqueness, they can never be as muddle-headed as the natives. They are bound to make a name for themselves. Regardless of the final result, there will definitely be a process of trying. The dazzling sphere released by the Myriad Immortals Alliance actually has the same effect but by different means. It makes the cultivators who are contaminated consider themselves extraordinary and have high ambitions. Moreover, the tempering of 99 reincarnations is indeed a great opportunity for cultivators. It is enough for some of them to transform from a serpent into a dragon and complete their transformation. It's equivalent to tens of thousands of weakened transmigrators appearing in the territory of the Five Elders Association. And they've been brainwashed to be permanently hostile. Tisk tisk. The Myriad Immortals Alliance is also very likely to be releasing cultivation methods and other things that are useful in the Xuanwang world in the reincarnation illusion of the dazzling sphere. To help these children of destiny to quickly succeed. Li Fan's face showed a gloating expression. Let's see how they deal with it. Lin Ling, if the Five Elders Association sends another message asking about it, just ignore it for now. Li Fan instructed. Lin Ling nodded as if she understood. Launching a counterattack is to cause internal strife within the Five Elders Association, so they will temporarily have no time to take care of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. It seems that the Immortal Alliance really values this great examination. Li Fan stroked his chin. Under the anticipation of everyone, the 1-month-long great examination finally came to an end. The cultivators returned from the heavenly Zon mirror one after another, with their own joys and sorrows. On the Zon Island. Judging from fellow Taoists' expression, you must be confident this time. The 6 cultivators from the Kongyun Sea Mutual Aid Society who signed up for the Great Examination gathered together. Originally, only 4 cultivators, including He Jung Hao, participated in the Great Examination, but after the Immortal Alliance released the selection announcement for the 33 Immortal Elect, 2 others were moved. They decided to take a gamble. Although they had far less time to prepare than He Jung Hao and the others, judging from the expressions on their faces, the results seemed to be very gratifying. Cramming before the exam really works. One of the 2, a cultivator named Wei Qijung, said excitedly. The content of the question bank given by fellow Taoist G is too much. Actually, I didn't have time to read it all, I just swallowed it whole and memorized some of it. But I was really lucky, most of the questions this time were actually the ones I memorized. I feel like I also performed well on the questions that weren't in the question bank. Wei Qijung shared his joy with everyone. He Junghao stroked his beard and smiled as well. Wouldn't that be congratulating little brother Wei in advance? The others also joined in the commotion. They all looked like they were confident. At this moment, Ji Shaoli coughed lightly, interrupting their lively atmosphere. However, it seemed that because the outbreak of the immortal mortal Qi had not passed for long, the cultivators present were still traumatized by the coughing sound. Before Ji Shaoli could speak, their expressions changed and they all looked over. Looking at their inquiring eyes, Ji Shaoli was a little speechless. I'm fine. He waved his hand and got down to business. When the results of the great examination come out, you will inevitably have to face the review of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. It would be bad if it was discovered that you knew about the exam questions in advance. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. However, Ji Shaoli smiled slightly. Our mutual aid society has a secret technique called open black lens bracket covering the sky with one hand close black lens bracket. I will teach it to you later. With the help of this secret technique, you will have no worries. He Junghao and the others were all overjoyed. Ji Shaoli gently pointed at the space between everyone's eyebrows, and after a moment, everyone present closed their eyes to comprehend and cultivate. Ji Shaoli took the opportunity to observe secretly. The one who woke up the fastest was the cultivator named Wei Qijung. In previous lives, when he was friends with He Junghao, he would occasionally hear about this exceptionally talented little brother from him. However, as Li Fan's horizons broadened and he encountered too many geniuses, he didn't pay much attention to this person. 857. The Immortal Chosen One. His talent is not bad. But that's all it is. After so many lifetimes of reincarnation, this person seems to only ever reach the golden core stage. Each time, he dies in the calamity of the crimson flame burning the sea. It seems his achievements are destined to be limited, he is not a true prodigy. Looking at Wei Qijung's cupped fist and grateful gaze, Ji Shaoli slightly nodded in return, but thought to himself. However, Ji Shaoli did not expect it. His poisonous eyes, honed through hundreds of lifetimes of reincarnation, would actually misjudge someone. 7 days after the great examination, the time for the results to be announced was drawing nearer. The people on Seizan Island gradually became anxious and uneasy, losing their earlier confidence. The laughter and chatter disappeared. Everyone's expression was solemn. Some, unable to bear the pressure, paced back and forth alone to relieve their stress. Just then, Wei Qijung suddenly looked surprised, took out his communication talisman, and began to examine it. No one knew what message he had received. The next moment, he abruptly stood up, his face filled with disbelief. His body even trembled slightly with excitement. This strange behavior immediately attracted the attention of the cultivators present. A thought couldn't help but emerge in their minds at the same time. Impossible, right? Looking at the shocked and somewhat puzzled gazes of the people around him, Wei Qijung took a deep breath. The city lord has ordered me to go to the Hall of Governance immediately. It concerns the selection of the 33 immortal candidates. The hall was instantly as silent as death. The expressions on everyone's faces froze because of this outrageous news. Even Ji Shaoli's face suddenly stiffened. Everyone's eyes focused on him, their expressions extremely complicated. Wei Qijung felt a rush of blood to his head in an instant, feeling a little lightheaded. Although it was only the initial selection of the 33 immortal candidates, and the final list of personnel had not yet been determined. But to be selected from countless cultivators. This in itself was proof of ability. At this moment, Wei Qijung only wanted to let out a long roar to express the joy in his heart. But soon, he seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed, and his pride disappeared. He was just a little lost. And fearful. Fellow Taoist Ji. He looked at Ji Shaoli for help, and weakly asked, is your open black lens bracket covering the sky with one hand close black lens bracket secret technique really effective? That's right, Wei Qijung had come to his senses. Although he had received the preliminary notification, he had known the exam questions in advance, he had cheated. If it was just a general state domain position, that would be fine. But now, he had to face the selection of the 33 immortal candidates, which was receiving the utmost attention from the Myriad Immortals Alliance. As hoped to contend against the Council of Five Elders, a strict review was inevitable. Wei Qijong could almost imagine the future scene. 7 or 8 Dao integration immortal reverence surrounded him, carefully examining every detail of his sea of consciousness, not letting anything go. Even with a good temperament, Wei Qijong felt a chill in his hands and feet at this moment. If he was discovered cheating, being beaten to death on the spot would be a small matter. He would probably be declared to the world and be infamous for 10,000 years. The more Wei Qijong thought about it, the more guilty he felt. Fellow Taoist Ji, his voice trembled a little, and he asked again. At this time, Ji Shaoli finally recovered from his surprise. He looked at Wei Qijong, whose face had changed several times in a short period, and immediately guessed what the other party was thinking. He immediately comforted him. You don't have to worry, our Mutual Assistance Society's secret method is foolproof. However, if you are really worried, I can help you again. Follow me. As if grasping at a life-saving straw, Wei Qijong followed Ji Shaoli into the secret room without hesitation. You should meditate here, empty everything, and eliminate all distracting thoughts, Ji Shaoli instructed. Wei Qijong nodded and did as he was told. Soon, his uneasy heart became calm. Ji Shaoli nodded secretly. Then, he waited patiently. As for what he was waiting for, naturally, it was Lin Ling's urgent delivery of the storage ring. With the help of the surging earth vein power, Lin Ling personally arrived on Seizon Island with Li Fan in less than the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Without attracting the attention of the other cultivators on the island. The moment she arrived in the secret room, Lin Ling knocked Wei Qijong unconscious. Li Fan's divided soul and body carefully examined Wei Qijong's body at the same time. After a moment, he shook his head slightly. Strange. It's not some special physique either. Although his cultivation talent is outstanding, it is limited to the scope of one state. Compared with the true prodigies of the Xuanwang world, there is still a considerable gap. Why was he chosen by the Myriad Immortals Alliance? Li Fan was a little puzzled in his heart. But his incomprehension did not affect his actions at all. He held the cyan fruit of true temptation, which was between illusion and reality and constantly changing, against Wei Qijong's brow. In an instant, as the fruit completely virtualized, this fruit that could control Dao integration cultivators was wasted on Wei Qijong, who was only at the foundation establishment stage. Li Fan didn't feel any heartache. Although it was only a glimmer of possibility, he gambled. If Wei Qijong could really pass the selection, then knowing the truth about the 33 immortal candidates planned through this would definitely be worth more than the cost. If he unfortunately failed, Li Fan's expression became a little dangerous. Then he would have to make him work for a lifetime to repay it. Relying on this fruit of true temptation alone is not enough. Li Fan's eyes flashed. In his sea of consciousness, the terminal dissolution disk emitted a lustrous white light. In an instant, it appeared in Li Fan's hand. Li Fan took a deep breath and instantly laid down a circle of formations around it. Using his finger as a sword, he slashed down fiercely. The terminal dissolution disk trembled slightly, and a thin layer was cut off. As if it had suffered great damage, the terminal dissolution disk instantly became dim. It looked a little listless. Li Fan felt a little heartache when he saw this. He quickly took it back into his sea of consciousness to nurture it. After all, it's not the terminal stone plate, it's just a disk cut out and fused with the dissolution disk. Although it has inherited some of the characteristics of being able to be cut and separated, cutting off even one piece is a serious injury. You kid, you better not let me down. Li Fan carefully implanted the thin cicada wing terminal dissolution disk into Wei Qijong's sea of consciousness. After doing all this, he quietly left the secret room under Lin Ling's guidance. Only the divided soul Ji Shaoli remained, standing quietly waiting. Soon after, Wei Qijong woke up leisurely. He was a little dazed at first. Then, when he saw Ji Shaoli, whose face was a little pale, many images suddenly appeared in his mind. Thank you for your hard work, Brother Ji. Wei will never forget your great kindness. Wei Qijong said very gratefully. Ji Shaoli waved his hand. We are all family in the Mutual Assistance Society, naturally, we must help each other. It's been a long time since the City Lord summoned you. Go ahead. Don't worry, with my Mutual Assistance Society's secret technique, even if the Longevity Heavenly Lord takes action, he won't be able to discover the secrets in your mind. His tone was extremely boastful, but Wei Qijong firmly believed it. He nodded heavily. 858. Each person has a different fate. Let's go. Ji Shaoli patted Wei Qijung's shoulder, his eyes showing encouragement. When they came out of the secret room, everyone was amazed at the completely transformed Wei Qijung. They couldn't help but wonder what secret technique Ji Shaoli had used on him, as all his previous apprehension and nervousness had vanished, replaced by complete confidence. Ji Shaoli and Wei Qijung didn't explain. Everyone, the city lord is still waiting, so I'll take my leave first, Wei Qijung said with a bow. Then, congratulations to Brother Wei in advance for your success. Brother Wei, if you become rich and powerful, don't forget us. At this moment, everyone's attitude towards Wei Qijung had completely changed, and they hurriedly returned the greeting with enthusiasm. Wei Qijung nodded slightly and left Haizan Island through the teleportation array. Watching the other party's figure gradually disappear, He Zhenghao sighed with a hint of pride. I had long seen that little Brother Wei was no ordinary person and would definitely have a day of success. I didn't expect it to come so quickly. It wasn't in vain that I took care of him so much before. It's really infuriating to compare people to each other. We prepared for the exam more than a year in advance, but we're not as good as his last-minute cramming. Alas. Hiss. If fellow Taoist Wei really gets selected as one of the 33 immortal candidates, and then directly ascends to the Tao harmonization stage, wouldn't that mean I can call a Tao harmonization immortal Venerable my brother? He won't turn his back on me then, will he? Everyone reacted differently, but most of them couldn't hide their envy and jealousy. Only Ji Shaoli's eyes flickered. The Myriad Immortals Alliance held the 33 immortal candidate selection program with such fanfare, so naturally, they attached great importance to it. To be on the safe side, he didn't act clever and plant a formless killing intent on Wei Qijung. Even the separated piece of the Doomsday Dissolution Disc was just a separate entity. It wasn't connected to the main body in his sea of consciousness. It only silently recorded everything it sensed around it, and only when it was completely destroyed would it transmit the collected information. He was so cautious to avoid Wei Qijung being found out. For some reason, Ji Shaoli had a faint premonition in his heart. Wei Qijung's trip was likely to be successful in becoming one of the 33 immortal candidates. But also, if he wanted to see him again, it would probably be a long time later. Wei Qijung was summoned to the Immortal Alliance headquarters, and not many cultivators in the Kongyun Sea knew about it. He left quietly. 3 days after he left, which was the 10th day after the end of the big exam, the results were announced. Some were happy, and some were sad. On Haizan Island, there was laughter and joy. 6 people applied for the exam, and all 6 passed. If this gets out, it will definitely cause a sensation. Ha ha ha, those who didn't join our mutual aid society before will definitely regret it. In the midst of the jubilation, He Zhenghao suddenly frowned and said worriedly, what if we are reported by those jealous people? As soon as he said this, the room instantly fell silent. Shouldn't be. A trace of worry flashed in everyone's eyes. Hee, what are you afraid of? A straight body is not afraid of a crooked shadow. At this time, Ji Shaoli said in a deep voice. It's just guessing the right questions. There are countless organizations in the entire Myriad Immortals Alliance that study the big exam and specialize in guessing questions. What's one more of us? Ji Shaoli said confidently. He Zhenghao and others were slightly stunned. But then they heard Ji Shaoli snort coldly. Besides, what can they report us for? Leaking exam questions is a capital crime. Without solid evidence, who dares to talk nonsense? If there really are those who don't have eyes, who knows who will die first? These words were said with incomparable toughness, making everyone thoughtful, and slowly the worries gradually disappeared. Okay, let's not mention these unlucky things. Now that you have passed the big exam, what are your thoughts on where to take office in the future? When registering for the big exam, there will be preliminary regional and job intentions. But the specific position is still decided by the Immortal Alliance headquarters. It is determined by many factors such as the cultivator's place of origin, realm, and potential. In principle, most are arranged locally, and elites are transferred to the Immortal Alliance headquarters. But occasionally there will be special circumstances. Just like He Zhenghao before, he was clearly able to find a position in TNU State. But he was arranged to this remote place in Kongyun Sea. It was because of the Heng family's suppression behind the scenes. Most of the cultivators can only accept the assignment of positions. But for those with background and connections, they can maximize their own interests. Originally, everyone was already satisfied with passing the big exam. But hearing Ji Shaoli's words, it seemed that there was still room for operation. So, everyone was a little tempted. Each secretly transmitted sound to Ji Shaoli. Only He Zhenghao hesitated. "Fellow Taoist He, what do you say?" Ji Shaoli asked with a smile. After hesitating for a long time, He Zhenghao finally replied, "If possible, I would like to go to Tianyan State. Tianquan State is also fine." Neither of them was Tianyu State, but they were both very close. Ji Shaoli instantly understood He Zhenghao's thoughts. After pondering for a moment, he looked at everyone. "This big exam is special. I can't guarantee what the final result will be, I can only do my best. Success or failure depends entirely on your own good fortune." Everyone was very understanding and thanked Ji Shaoli again. "Before the final distribution result comes out, you should still use this time to seize the time to cultivate. If the realm can be raised to a higher level, then it will be different again." He Zhenghao and others all nodded in response. With expectations, they practiced more seriously than ever before. Ji Shaoli began to launch a money offensive, to see if he could insert nails into the Immortal Alliance inland as much as possible. Kong Yunxi is destined to be destroyed, and there is no future in staying here. The matter of the clone trying to dredge up relations through Jing Zan, Shen Yuzi, Wang Fusong and others will be skipped for the time being. As the big exam came to an end, the attention of the myriad Immortals Alliance cultivators was all focused on the biggest winners of this big exam, those who passed the preliminary screening and went to the Immortal Alliance headquarters to participate in the final selection of the 33 Immortal candidates. After all, achieving the position of Tao Harmonization Immortal Venerable. This kind of influence is not comparable to ordinary Immortal Alliance positions. Those who are good at it and well-informed quickly sorted out the list of these 300 lucky ones. Detailed information about them also appeared in front of everyone. After some research, it was found that there was nothing in common. The cultivation bases of the 300 selected cultivators were different. From foundation establishment to transformation god, there were realms at every stage. From lonely cultivators with no background to core disciples of prominent families, all were included. The selection criteria of the Myriad Immortals Alliance were really a bit confusing. At this moment, Li Huo also held this list in his hand and studied it. There is no Shuo Feng. Nor are there the names of those real Immortal Alliance high-level descendants that I saw in the previous lives. Quote. Update a chapter first, remind you that the monthly ticket is about to expire. 859. The Immortal Alliance has branches and branches asking for monthly tickets. They didn't take advantage of this rare opportunity to give the family disciples a chance to gild their reputations. Could it be that they are truly treating everyone equally, with fairness and justice? A trace of doubt flashed through Li Fan's mind. However, from his understanding of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, things might not be so simple. Let's think about it from another angle. Perhaps these so-called 33 immortal candidates are not a good thing. That's why these family members are deliberately avoiding it. Li Fan's eyes flickered. This kind of speculation happened to coincide with his own premonition about Wei Qi's ending. 33 Dao integration experts, without the celestial venerable of longevity present, can definitely be considered a force capable of influencing the outcome of the war. What exactly does the 10,000 Immortals Alliance want to do? Li Fan couldn't help but become interested. From the information currently available, the lot transmitting celestial venerable may have temporarily left the Xuanwang world for some reason. Only leaving a trace of his mind behind. He will only return if something like chaos occurs, or if the Xuanwang world is about to be destroyed. The 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the 5 Elders Association seem to be evenly matched on the surface. But in reality, without the restraint of the law-transmitting Celestial Venerable, they are at an absolute disadvantage against the 5 Elders Association, which has 5 longevity realm experts. Just like the 114th cycle tried to create the profound net to resist the Celestial Venerable of longevity. The 33 immortal candidates of this cycle must also be related to creating a force capable of contending with the longevity realm. A flash of understanding passed through Li Fan's mind. Both sides have already made their moves, let's see how this game of chess will be played. Previously, the 5 Elders Association had also tried to contact him. But Li Fan had ignored them all. The resources obtained from the 5 Elders Association were enough for the time being. Li Fan decided to observe the development of the situation before making his next plan. He memorized all the information of the 300+ cultivators on the list in his hand. Then, Li Fan crushed it into powder, and his mind once again enveloped the 5 elements great grotto heaven. At this moment, he had successfully advanced to the perfected golden core realm, and officially began the process of devouring the 5 elements great grotto heaven. The tentacles transformed from the root of heaven and earth, following the gaps between the grotto heavens, spread into each attribute grotto heaven, temporarily lurking there. The 5 elements great grotto heaven was too vast, and only by accumulating strength first, and cultivating enough roots of the root of heaven and earth, could he devour the grotto heaven in one fell swoop. There was no shortcut, only persistent effort. The only thing worth rejoicing about was that this 5 elements great grotto heaven had not yet given birth to a being similar to the heavenly Tao consciousness. Even the instinctive resistance mechanism was very weak. Therefore, Li Fan's invasion was exceptionally smooth. In the vastly different 5 attribute grotto heavens, dense roots, like clouds of doomsday, slowly spread out. Time flew by. The million contribution points that the clone Ji Shaoli had spent were indeed not wasted. When the final appointment announcement was made, a joyful atmosphere once again filled Haizan Island. Heavenly Luck Continent, Array Planning Hall. He Zhenghao was even more excited, and countless thoughts ran through his mind. Although he was only the lowest ranking on-duty Array Mage, the Heavenly Luck Continent was located in the central hinterland of the Immortal Alliance, and both the treatment and the future were incomparable to guarding the Kanyan Sea. Joining the Kanyan Sea Mutual Aid Association that day was truly the most correct decision I have ever made in my life. Even if it's just a small step, I have finally taken it. One day, I will return to Tianyu Continent in glory. Ruo Shui. Just as He Zhenghao's heart was surging, Ji Shaoli's figure reappeared in front of everyone. Knowing that Ji Shaoli must have put in a lot of effort in the process of allocating positions, everyone quickly saluted to express their gratitude. Haha, we are all one family, no need to be polite, Ji Shaoli waved his hand and said. However, then, he changed the subject. Now that you are all about to leave Kanyan Sea, then there are some situations that I don't need to hide anymore. Everyone's heart trembled, knowing that the mysterious Mutual Aid Association was about to reveal its veil, and immediately listened carefully. The Kanyan Sea Mutual Aid Association is just a small branch of the Xuanwang Mutual Aid Association in the Kanyan Sea area. Our Mutual Aid Association's forces are spread all over the Xuanwang world. So even if you go elsewhere, you don't have to worry about losing the organization. Everyone had expected this. After all, how could a small regional organization be able to know the exam questions in advance? Ji Shaoli's eyes swept over everyone, and seeing that everyone was very calm, he nodded in satisfaction. However, it needs to be explained that the mutual aid associations in each continent still have a bit of a competitive relationship after all. And you are all joining the association from me. Therefore, within 10 years, your identity in the organization will still belong to the Kanyan Sea branch. Because of this reason, the Fu Zhe Ren of other regions will not contact you for the time being. Until the expiration, I will still be responsible for contacting you. Although it's a bit troublesome, it's necessary to prevent vicious competition, Ji Shaoli slowly explained. Everyone did not show anything unusual when they heard this. Only one golden core cultivator named Yu Hongjian couldn't help but ask, "Fellow Taoist Ji, I wonder what the original intention of creating this mutual aid association is. It can't be that it's really just mutual help, right?" As soon as these words were spoken, the same doubts appeared in everyone's eyes. That's right. Since joining the association, we have always been helped by the organization, but we have never had a place to contribute. I really feel a little uneasy, Yu Hongjian said weakly. Ji Shaoli smiled slightly. Don't worry. Your strength is still too weak now, just focus on cultivating. There will always be a day when the organization needs you. Even though Ji Shaoli only had the cultivation of the Golden Core realm, no one present had any objections to him saying, "Your strength is too weak." After all, everyone present had seen cultivators who were vaguely in the Tao integration realm treat Ji Shaoli with respect. Obviously, Ji Shaoli was definitely not as simple as he appeared on the surface. Similarly, Ji Shaoli's words seemed to appease everyone. But in reality, it made them even more uneasy. Everyone knew that there was no free lunch in the world. The mutual aid association's help to them was almost like recreating them. Although there had been no tasks assigned so far. But if there really came a day when the mutual aid association needed their help. Everyone glanced at each other almost imperceptibly. But the matter had come to this point, and there was no turning back. Everyone suppressed the uneasiness in their hearts, not daring to reveal the slightest bit. They were just discussing and studying the review that they might encounter when taking office. Time passed. Within 10 days, the 5 people bid farewell and left to take office in their respective continents. For a time, Haizan Island became a little deserted. Ji Shaoli looked at a piece of news and revealed a somewhat surprised expression. Zhang Shentong, whom he had been paying attention to, had unexpectedly broken through for no apparent reason. 860. Book list. 6.1 Book list. 6.1 is here, so I've compiled a book list for those of you experiencing a book drought. All are guaranteed to be quality reads with over 10,000 subscriptions. 1. Fantasy. Open double angle bracket Mythical Card Creator Close double angle bracket by Yagai. Open double angle bracket A Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of Holy Flame Close double angle bracket by Carrot on a Scale. Open double angle bracket The Witcher, starting with Night Breathing to Grind Experience Close double angle bracket by Tian Li. Open double angle bracket Life Simulation, adding entries starting with Health Cultivation Close double angle bracket by San Zheng Shou. Open double angle bracket Mythological Era, I evolved into a stellar class behemoth Close double angle bracket by Jian on Qunu Mountain Top. 2. Shenxia, open double angle bracket Abyssal Heavenly Venerate Close double angle bracket by Feng Xian. Open double angle bracket Black Mythology, Tang Dynasty Close double angle bracket by Du Gu Huan. Open double angle bracket Seriously, Even Gentlemen Need Protection, Close double angle bracket by Yang Xiaorong. Open double angle bracket My Simulation of Immortality Close double angle bracket by Cuttlefish That Angers Especially Good, highly recommended. Open double angle bracket Immortality Starts with Marrying a Wife Close double angle bracket by Loves Eating Cucumbers. Open double angle bracket Fairy, Please Listen to My Explanation Close double angle bracket by Mission Mansion. Open double angle bracket I Have a Cultivation World Close double angle bracket by Pure 9 Lotus Lantern. Open double angle bracket I Can't Stand This Shitty G Occult Anymore Close double angle bracket by Durian Lao Ju. Open double angle bracket Celestial Official of Fortune and Virtue Close double angle bracket by Flatterer Ah. 3. Urban, open double angle bracket Peninsula Prosecutor Close double angle bracket by Bamboo Leaf Cake. Open double angle bracket The Immortal Just Wants to Lie Down Close double angle bracket by Pork Heart and Shrimp. Open double angle bracket Back to the Small Fishing Village in 1982 Close double angle bracket by Raya's Rice. Open double angle bracket I Think This Is Quite Reasonable Close double angle bracket by Tianluo Liguang. Open double angle bracket My Identity Is Getting More and More Abnormal Close double angle bracket by Ah Xing Xing Xing. Open double angle bracket Starting with Registering Our Marriage with the Queen Close double angle bracket by Laduo as a Cat. Open double angle bracket My Literary Era of 1980 Close double angle bracket by Sitting and Watching Jingting. Open double angle bracket After listening to advice, I became a top star Close double angle bracket by Xin Yan. Open double angle bracket Go, Me and AI Have a 50-50 Chance Close double angle bracket by One Sword CCC. Open double angle bracket I Told You to Join the Army to Quit the Internet, but You Became an Officer Close double angle bracket by Special Forces Song. Open double angle bracket Nurturing Male God, After listening to advice, I became a top star Close double angle bracket by Stupid Mortal QD. 4. History, open double angle bracket Grand Preceptor of the Great Ming Close double angle bracket by Yu Yu in Westlake. Open double angle bracket Starting from King Wu's campaign against Zhou to establish a millennium aristocratic family Close double angle bracket by Hua Fei Hua Yuyi. Open double angle bracket Great Ming, My Simulated Life by Zhu Di Has Been Exposed, Close double angle bracket by Atu Who Lays Flat. 5. Game, open double angle bracket What Do You Call a Hexagonal Jungle, Close double angle bracket by This Is Very Scientific. Open double angle bracket League of Legends, I'm Really Not Intentionally Feeding, Close double angle bracket by Shadow Knight God. 6. Science fiction, open double angle bracket Approaching Unscience Close double angle bracket by Novice Fisherman. Open double angle bracket I'm Grinding Stats on a Desert Island Close double angle bracket by Ultimate Eternity. Open double angle bracket A New Rule Every Month Globally Close double angle bracket by Medieval Rabbit. 7. Infinite Multiverse, open double angle bracket In the Multiverse, I'm Filthy Rich Close double angle bracket by Tang Sen Loves to Eat Meat. Open double angle bracket Rampaging Through the Heavens, starting from Hong Kong Films Close double angle bracket by Li Jia Xiaoyu. Open double angle bracket. In Hong Kong films, you call this undercover, close double angle bracket. By doesn't eat scallions. 8 light novel. Open double angle bracket. Shepherd's Secret close double angle bracket by Bu Chi Shi Xian. Open double angle bracket. Gourmet Pet Tamer close double angle bracket by forced to write books due to book drought. Open double angle bracket. Rebirth. Back to 10 years ago close double angle bracket by Honey Juice G. Open double angle bracket. Dating after simulation close double angle bracket by Returning in the Fine Rain. Open double angle bracket. Starting over from Detective Conan close double angle bracket by Lee Si-yong. Open double angle bracket. Under One Person, 5 Blessings Arrive close double angle bracket by Han Shouting Monkey. Open double angle bracket. I'm Inventing Things at Hogwarts close double angle bracket by Vera Codes Every Day. Open double angle bracket. I realized I had a childhood sweetheart after rebirth close double angle bracket by Sao Manjin. Open double angle bracket. Hogwarts. Harry, the Witcher Who Returned close double angle bracket by Zijing Mie. 9 Female audience. Open double angle bracket. Palace Intrigue. I load saves infinitely, making the Emperor cry close double angle bracket by Zhang Shan K.